Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Let me know if the video volume is good and the video quality is good. My internet's been weird lately, so if there are issues with the stream, please let me know. I think it's a little quiet. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit. Okay, let me know if that's too loud. Alright. We're going over to the roster screen. Whoa! Hello everyone. Let me make sure the chat box is working. There we go. And now, I undeafen without warning everyone. I've undeafened without warning everyone. Hello.
Good.
Yo.
You joined us on the battlefield of ideas.
I sure have. Was Huff's icon always stretched? What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? That's just Huff.
I'm a very stretchy little fella.
It's like, can you do me a favor and make it wider?
Later.
True. When nobody's expecting it.
Subtly.
See if anyone notices.
Do it when we're talking about fates and you get bored.
What? That's not when I'm gonna get bored.
Oh boy.
Based on the 5 conversations about it, I think Slink's gonna get bored during the Teleus games.
Oh yeah, actually probably.
True.
Alright.
Well.
So I have been decided to go up first for some reason, so I'm gonna go first.
Should we introduce the concept and stuff first? And
Yes.
everything, yeah.
We sure
something,
should.
Something else I was thinking about saying is, hey, when we do these, we should probably introduce ourselves so people know our voices.
That's true.
I
My
assume
name's A
Slink had done it
Shadowlink.
before. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Creeks, introduce yourself.
Me?
Yes.
No?
Okay, good talk.
Good talk.
It's me, Nantendrix, here for Fire Emblem.
Hi, I huff propane.
I huff propane.
Hey, Huff. Yeah, we're here to talk about Fire Emblem today. Fire Emblem. So Fire Emblem, this stream is going to be a bit different for the previous ones, for the simple fact that Fire Emblem doesn't have a fighting game. It's got a Warriors game. It's got a gacha game. It's got a regular RPG. Smash Brothers, you could count, I guess, as partly a Fire Emblem fighting game, but it doesn't have a dedicated one. So we had a lot of sort of freedom on what we could do with this roster. We've decided to make a game similar to Grand Blue Fantasy Versus.
Yeah.
Like between that and Soul Calibur Feat styled game for the idea, and we settled on the Fantasy Versus.
Yeah, because I like
general
that.
idea. Like not exactly the same as Fantasy Versus, but with mechanics like pair up or tag team, I guess. And a 2D fighter as opposed to a 3D fighter. We're going to have 27 characters for the base roster and then 9 characters as DLC as well. So that's how we're going to sort it out. But other than that, like anything was sort of game for this. We're allowed for spin-offs we're allowed to dip into spin-offs if we wanted to. We weren't restricted. Like we're going to have to explain every choice, but we won't we didn't give ourselves many restrictions this time around. Slick, is your roster meant to be like not fully pulled out to the edges on the stream?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure that wasn't a mistake. Yeah, and that's really it, unless there's something I've forgotten.
Yeah, there is something I just wanted to bring up. This is like the first roster we've done since Mario Kart that wasn't a specific company. Like this is the first one that's just a series, right?
Pretty much, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this one's not a crossover, so
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is just Fire Emblem. There's no funny here.
yeah, no, this is just Fire Emblem. Yeah, there's not like third-party characters.
How
depending on the
many
definition of
OCs
that.
does each of your rosters have? At least 38.
Okay. Well, the order we're going to go in is Slink first, and then for this one, Creeks and Huff decided to work together to make a roster to sort of both fill in their Fire Emblem gaps of knowledge, and then I'm going last. So yeah, I guess that's everything we needed to say. So Slink, you can go straight ahead.
Okay. So I decided to start off with Marth from Fire Emblem. I know it's a controversial choice.
How dare
Oh.
you?
Okay.
Wild
Marth
pick.
would be here. He is the face of the franchise. Personally, I have him with the Fire Emblem shield. So he's a sword and shield fighter, which differentiates himself from some of the other characters who just use a sword later on.
Yeah, different from his Smash version as well,
Yes.
who's more of a fencer.
And I also from the it's Arcanea, right? That's how you say
Yeah,
it?
Yeah.
Arcanea.
Yeah, it's Arcanea.
Arcanea.
Okay. Also from the Arcanea saga, we've got Sita. I want to point out now with Sita here, there are no mounts. There is no horse-on-horse violence in this game.
Okay, but what about man on horse? Is that allowed?
No.
Coward.
But yeah, Sita has a lance. I imagine to pay homage to the fact that she is a Pegasus Knight, unlike the original Pegasus Knight. She could be more acrobatic, and could jump like high.
Yep. Having more aerial stuff would make a lot of sense
Yeah.
for the Pegasus Knight.
Summon the horse for like specials and or supers.
You're really set on that.
Yes, the horse is very important to me.
All right.
Wait until you see our roster; it'll all start making sense.
Oh my! Freaking.
We have we
If
might have
I
a few
see
horses.
Sigurd with a horse in the slot, I'm gonna be angry. So my third character is actually a personal favorite character of mine. I have Camus using his artwork from Shadows of Valentia. He's called Zeke there. Don't worry about it. That's the name that he decided to use, but this is Camus. He is basically the most important and interesting antagonistic character from the Arcanea saga. So having him makes a lot of sense. He would also be a lance fighter.
Yeah, makes sense.
But he would be more reserved, and he
More
basically
knight-like, I
yeah,
guess.
more knight-like. He has a kind of tank role in Shadows of Valentia, so he could also be a heavier character.
Yeah,
and
makes sense. Is he paladin class or he's gold knight class in Shadow of Valentia?
yeah,
That's it. And then paladin in Shadow Dragon.
there's also some weird guy named Sirius. I don't know who that is. It looks kind of like him though.
They should be alt costumes for each other.
They give him the Char Aznable mask. All right. Starting off the next game, we have Alm from Fire Emblem Gaiden, Fire Emblem Echo Shadows of Valentia. Alm is a bit more of a scrappy fighter. He is very unrefined in his sword style. He holds his hand out quite far. Now, his stance is actually quite good. It's how he uses the sword in battle that makes him unrefined. So he is, for all intents and purposes, our actual fencer character, not the anime fencer character. Actual fencer character.
So we don't have massive sword arm from Heroes.
No, I don't even know what the hell happened there. What the fuck?
Sword the size of his body.
Wait, I actually forgot what.
It's artwork in Heroes. He has like a massive sword. Like,
Okay, I'm pulling this up on my
reasonably
monitor. What the?
like compared to what he should have.
Why is the falchion like that? Who
What the
proved
fuck?
that
Why is it like
sword?
that?
I know the falchion's quite big, but it's not.
So cool.
It's not
Yeah.
that big. It's also a thin sword.
Yeah, like if you compare it to his actual Shadows of Valentius artwork.
Bro, this shit is like
Crazy.
as tall as him.
They really
the
made it like a
hell?
bastard sword. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Early Fey art be like.
Alright, my next character is Celica. Celica is a sword and magic type. She uses black magic, if I remember correctly. That's what it's classified as in Gaiden and Valentia.
Yeah, I don't think they really distinguish dark magic and anima magic in that game.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think I mentioned this idea before, maybe on a Smash Brothers stream. But the idea of Celica's magic growing stronger with scale like Robin's Thoron does in Smash, it could be a neat idea to tap into here, not necessarily as a charge move, but as a meter, maybe. Also having her magic cost HP would be very funny. And I'd actually like that if they did it.
That would be the way to do it. It's the only time where magic is life force in the series for no reason.
Huff, why'd you send me that?
I made an update to your roster.
To my roster.
Yeah, put him on.
Alright, buddy. Okay, apparently according to Huff, this is my 6th character.
Oh no.
Do you care to explain
Sure.
yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jeddah. Everybody knows Gemma. He's an icon.
He's
He
not in
doesn't need his
Heroes
name there.
yet, so.
Does greatly resemble iconic character Overlord Badman from the PSP game No Heroes Allowed.
Yeah, he doesn't need his name there because he's so iconic. Everybody knows Jeddah. I definitely just didn't fuck up making this like in 10 seconds. I also didn't even size him appropriately.
Well,
He's
Okay.
your favorite villain. You gotta
Who
do
is-
him.
who is the last? Have you moved? Are you moving on now?
My last
Okay.
character from Gaiden is Rudolph. Because Rudolph is it covers a kind of niche that we don't really have, that I don't have elsewhere on this roster, which is a really big guy with a really long lance and a shield. I don't think anyone else can qualify for that role.
Yeah, that is most heavy units in later games use a sword or an axe.
Yeah.
So Rudolph having a lance, well, mainly because he's a horse. He's a gold knight, isn't he? I think.
Yeah.
Or he's got a unique class. yeah, that does make
he's
him stand
he's a
out.
gold knight, but he's not on the horse in cutscenes, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he is in cutscenes because this is something I had to check when I was making my roster. I was trying to remember if Rudolph was on horse or not. And I think
Dimitri's
he is
not
in
big.
battle.
Dimitri's not a big guy, and he also doesn't have a shield.
Mm-hmm.
Dimitri's definitely not a small guy. He's like 6'3",
He's
and like
tall,
built like a
but
washing
he's
machine.
not. big anime man.
Yeah, he's
tall.
not a giant like Rudolph is.
Yeah,
No.
it's not built like a boulder.
He's not Potemkin.
Okay, so I actually initially went through 6 characters for genealogy and Thracia. And then I had to cut several of them. So if the person helping me choose those characters is watching, I'm sorry. So initially I had Sigurd, because he's the one that they picked for Engage, and he's apparently very popular. However, no, he's too similar to Marth.
It's true, he does have a actually, does Sigurd have a shield? He might do, because he's on a horse.
So 3 from each game, 3 from each saga,
World.
unless I decided otherwise. Should have added Sigurd's horse over Sigurd. I am figuring we're gonna see that eventually. So yeah, here's Leaf. He is a thief. He is the protagonist of Thracia.
My favorite game. I love that one.
Does he
I
come
definitely
with
don't
fog?
hate it with a burning passion.
His special move just covers the whole arena in fog.
Yeah.
Comes with
No one can
fog.
see.
God.
Go on, though.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is where the Levin sword originates, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so Leaf would have the Levin sword, and he would have the distinction of being the only character on this roster to have the Levin sword. So it would double as both melee and also conjuring bolts of lightning that are projectiles or just really strong attacks.
Oh no, actually, the Levin sword is in the original game.
Oh, it's in
Shadow
Doesn't
Dragon,
Leaf use the
apparently.
light sword? I'm sorry, my
Yes, he uses
knowledge
the
on
light
Thracia
sword.
is not very good. I know
Yeah.
he uses a magic sword of,
Yes, he
of
does,
a
yeah.
kind.
So it's called the Thunder Sword in
The Thunder Sword.
genealogy in Thracia.
Okay, Thunder Sword.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, he has light brand. I think might be the name of the sword that Leaf uses.
Okay.
Yeah, he uses a sword that controls light magic, basically.
Also, I must
Yeah.
add, it's not 3 per. It is 3 for the base game, max, and then there's
Mhm.
DLC.
Yeah, the whole bottom row is DLC.
Yes. So, continuing on, we have Julia, who is, I believe, a secondary protagonist of Genealogy.
Yes.
And she is a mage character. That's the first proper mage that we have here.
Yeah, because Selleck uses a sword, so
Yeah.
Julia would be magic only.
Magic only.
I think Julia, does she use light magic? Or I think she uses light magic.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if genealogy splits magic into light, dark, etc. But her class is the light priestess, so I would assume yes on that.
Okay, thank you. And then rounding this out, we have Arvis, the funny guy that everyone makes the jokes about. Let's not repeat them here.
Flame on.
He is not the main villain of Genealogy, but the more popular one for sure. He is, I believe. Sorry, I gotta stop saying I believe because I know. He is the antagonist of the first half of Genealogy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But even then, he's more like the surprise antagonist of
Yes.
the first half of genealogy.
Spoilers for the upcoming remake if you don't know.
Everyone sort of sees him as the villain. I don't think anyone remembers who the actual main villain is from the first half because it's some like old politician man.
No.
What, you don't like iconic old politician? He's my favorite.
I love him in every Fire Emblem game he's in, especially when you fight the same looking old man 5 times. But yeah, Arvis is the most memorable villain of Genealogy, and Thracia probably. Unless you're a Heroes fan, in which case Reinhardt is probably...
Yeah, face app Reinhardt. Moving on, we have... Wait, what? Hold on, that's the wrong slot.
Oh, no.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, no. Roy from Fire Emblem. He has a sword that becomes on fire. And also, he's the worst unit in the game.
True, he is. Like,
This is very
actually.
true. He's a weak ass lord.
Yeah. Where's Roy from Smash Bros? Where to go?
Yeah, you had the opportunity for a 4th layer to this joke.
I could have. The original game is Super Smash Bros. Melee.
It's true.
You can't get Sigurd because he's too similar to Marth, but we get Roy. Yes, because Roy is personality-wise very different. He is
Younger, more brash.
more brash, and then that's it.
I mean, is that true? I feel like Roy and Martha are actually the same age.
They're portrayed as younger.
Isn't he one year
actually-
younger? Isn't he 1 year
Martha's
younger?
like a year or two older than Roy is.
I guess it depends on which game.
Like, Roy's
you pick
15,
Marth
right?
from. Yeah, Roy's 15.
I thought
I'm trying to
Marth was
remember
16.
He might be 16. I know it. He's 14 in the prologue.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Then he's 16, and then he's 19 in.
Okay.
the
Let me
sequel.
rephrase this. They are about the same age, like we've just discussed, but like, there's a difference between portrayal age and actual age for like these
Fair
characters. Because they portray Roy as if he's like fucking 10 sometimes.
I mean, to be fair, Roy is the only one here with a dad who lives, so he doesn't have to grow up. But,
You know
yeah.
what? Fair.
That's not true.
I mean, from the ones you've got on screen right now, it is.
I mean, we're in the timeline where Rudolph lived.
I
here,
guess
look.
Sheeda probably.
Rudolph is right there. He's technically alive.
That's true.
He's currently alive. That can change though.
Okay. So,
He's standing a little too close to Arvis.
my next character is going to be Lyn from the Binding Blade, also known as Fire Emblem. Or is it Blazing Blade? Is Blazing Sword?
Blade.
Is Blazing Sword 7? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's Blazing Sword.
I
Blazing
always
Sword,
get those
yeah.
confused. I'm sorry.
just call it Fire
I'm
Emblem.
so used to just knowing it as Fire Emblem. Whenever I try to get the right name for it, I get it wrong every time.
Yeah. I think it is Blazing Blade as opposed to Blazing Sword, like officially. I think people used to call it Blazing Sword before Nintendo put Blazing Blade as the official name in one of the maybe in Engage or Heroes or something.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Lyn's faster, usually portrayed as a more samurai or ninja-like character. Uses a katana. In her home game and Warriors, she is shown to be able to move so fast that she creates after images of herself.
Yeah.
So that could also be an aspect to her moveset.
Yeah. I mean, they reference that in Engage by having her literally like be able to clone herself. So I think that's like a core part of the way Lyn fights, or at least I like how they like to show it. She's very
Alright.
speed heavy.
So she has shadow clones. Got it.
Yes. Yeah.
They also have her utilize bows, from what I remember, in some material.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bow is her secondary weapon. Like Alm.
Yeah, I think Leaf as well has bows as his secondary
Leaf
weapon.
having a bow makes sense. He does have a hero's ult. I'm not familiar with Ratio. I'm sorry.
I always
Yeah,
forget
no.
that he has a bow. I always forget that.
Yeah, there's no reason to ever give him one.
I think it's the same for Leaf. If you have Lightbrand, there's no reason to not use his magic.
Leaf has bows in genealogy, but not in Thracia?
Ah, okay.
All right. So the last character in this column will be Zephiel from the Binding Blade. He is a big guy. He has a big sword. That is him.
That is Zephiel, all right.
Yes.
I
I
thought he used a
opted for him.
Spear that turns into a sword.
Yeah, it's annoying because the sprite has him with a spear, but that's because they don't have like generals with swords in that game, so they have him like
It's
his spear transforms into a big sword when he attacks only, and then goes.
Well,
back
it's
to being a
badass, so I
spear.
like it. Keep
Yeah.
it.
It's what it was is I showed Huff the animation of it. He's got like he carries around the hilt of like a spear. It's like a spear hilt, and then the sword comes out of it like it's an energy blade, but it's just actual metal. It's very cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah, no, Zephiel's cool. If they work from his animations in the game and adapt the way that he moves into a proper like 3D fighting game where you can tell what's going on for real, like that's really cool. It would definitely set him apart from other big guys with swords that will be appearing eventually. One might even be right next to him. Anyway, here's Ephraim from Sacred Stones. I opted for the Lance Lord over Erica.
Makes sense.
Funnily enough, I did that, and I have quite a few Lance users. So I kind of didn't need to do that. But
It's fine. Erica plays a bit too similar to, I guess, how Alm would be playing in this game.
So yeah, Ephraim, and also his best friend in the world, Leon.
BFFs for life.
Yeah, for real, for sure. Another mage character. Now you may be noticing I've put the antagonist on the second row. Oh, I wonder why. Here's Ike.
Whoa! It's our boy.
What, you didn't want 3 Sacred Stone characters?
I did.
But you couldn't justify it.
Yeah. Here's
That's
Ike. He
fair.
has a big sword. Our next
He fights
character is
for his friend.
Marth. I gotta stop doing
Martha,
this.
thank you.
Wait. Marth from the NES game.
No.
Here's Lucina. Lucina is probably the most, if not one of the most. One of the most, if not the most popular Fire Emblem character.
Yeah,
Globally?
she's in like the top 4.
Yeah.
Along with like Lyn and Ike and Rory.
I feel obligated to include her, and Awakening is a big title for Fire Emblem because it is where the budget skyrocketed, and is credited for saving the series. I personally don't think that's a big reason to favor it over other games, but it's clearly an important title to them internally. They give Awakening a lot of love, and some more Awakening characters. Some Awakening characters have insane amounts of Heroes Hold. I believe they have some of the most ults in the game.
They might do. Awakening is like it's the one. Awakening and Shadows of Valentia are basically character complete. but Awakening still gets a whole bunch. Like, was one of the games with the most content like last year, include like up there with Three Houses, and Blazing Sword, maybe another one. Like, Awakening gets a lot of attention for a game that basically has all of its characters already in Heroes, whereas like Shadows of Valentia got like nothing last year, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Next up, we have Frederick.
Oh,
I realized very late into making this roster that I had one character with an axe. So I added Frederick. This was actually an empty slot, believe it or not. I did not replace anybody with Frederick. He is here because I wanted him here.
Does he come with horse?
What does he have with a horse?
No.
Cowardice.
Sad.
However, he will tell you to pick a god and pray.
Mm-hmm.
And now finishing off Awakening is, Robin. But Robin with the Levin sword and tome is kind of boring.
Oh boy, we're going green. Angie Robin.
Here's Grima. This was the first thing I decided to do when I made this roster. I really wanted to have Grima here. I wanted the dragon install. Just like whenever you're fighting with Grima, whichever side of the stage they belong to, the giant Grima head is just hanging behind the edge of the screen, and you can use super moves to make it come in. It's a lot more fun, I think, personally. This does make Grima a mage type character, which is good, because I won't have that many dark mages. In fact, I think I only have one more after this.
Okay. I'm surprised you have more than one, to be honest. Dark magic is not the biggest thing unless you're a villain.
Yeah. Alright. Next up, we're going on to Fire Emblem Fates. Here's Corrin with the chainsaw sword.
It's another dragon install.
Yeah, we do have another dragon install. They can indeed turn into
A Dargon.
Yeah. Dragon in quotation.
Ugly Johnny.
deer that is called a dragon. I've gone with female Corrin because that is the one they use. And next up we have two characters that represent two of the sides of Fire Emblem Fates, starting with Camilla from the worst cutscene in the game. This is the only other axe user
Damn.
on the roster.
Board and cord got robbed.
Okay, so wait, hang on. Let me get this straight.
Yes.
So no horses, but does she come with the Dargon?
Is she flying in?
Sure, why not?
Not as cool as a horse, but
I feel a little less bad about including a wyvern, because that's a fictional creature. So
what, you think horses are real?
Yeah. Never seen a horse in my
the
life.
next character's Ryoma, Mr. Crab Samurai Man. He's funny. He will patiently wait 25 turns for his revenge.
You can only attack after 25 moves have been pulled off by the opponent. But then, he'll get serious.
After he is hit with 25 rows. Sorry, I read rows. Dyslexia. After he is hit with 25 moves, he powers up.
That's the Ryoma we all know and love.
Anyway, here's Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses. This is their Enlightened One form. They will have their Chain Whip Sword and also Light Magic. I believe they also have Healing. It's been a long time since I played Three Houses, but they have access to Healing Magic, right?
Yeah.
That is what most of the light magic is. Also, something that a lot of people don't talk about, Byleth has a proficiency in both Enlightened One and the starting class in hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. They could also throw down. They could be the grappler, actually, both with the Chain Whip Sword and also with their own hands.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that. That's the function now. I just wanted to say when I introduced their magic that one of their supers is just healing like 50% of their bar because it's funny. Next up, we've got Dimitri. Funny angry man. He grows more powerful the more he gets hit, just like Ryoma, because it makes him angrier.
Early part 2 Dimitri here.
Yes. I want Savage Dimitri. He is probably one of my favorite Fire Emblem characters. I really enjoy him. And his lance is also like aesthetically like really cool. It's very different from the average lance. So I saw a few people saying I wasn't gonna have Edelgard because I said that there were no more axe users.
Edgemon?
You don't know who I am. Here's Hedgemon, Edelgard, her true form.
Yeah.
This is another
biggest character.
death magic villain character. I think Heroes. This is the Heroes alt. Heroes introduced a form of Hegemon where it's not fully complete, and not like she's not gargantuan size. So that is what I would go with for here. I would personally have her floating though. Still.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It'll look cooler. She floats in Heroes, so...
Oh, she does? Okay, I haven't gotten that one because I stopped playing when she was introduced because...
Yeah,
everyone knows.
She floats in Heroes. She's treated like a beast unit in Heroes, so I think if she's standing next to a regular unit, she'll turn back to normal Edelgard. Like the smaller version, but that's like because it's a Heroes mechanic.
Okay. Speaking of heroes, we have Kirin from Fire Emblem Heroes, the mute appearanceless summoner. If you wanted to, you could pick one of those designs that they have for your base.
Kirin is a choice. Is he going to shoot people?
Yes, he is going to shoot people. He also will be a summoner, just like he is. I personally would like him to summon Asker. Because I found out like a week ago that he's voiced by Takaya Kuroda, and I want to hear Kiryu scream. Anyway, next character also from Heroes, we have Veronica. She's gonna summon Xander.
Will Xander have his horse when he's summoned?
Yes.
Way, there we go.
He comes in on the horse and then he leaves.
No, just the horse arrives.
All right.
He's just not there.
People who have not played Fire Emblem Engage, but for some reason care about the story of that game, look away. because I'm about to spoil the end of the game. We have our last base roster character, Vale and... Wait, what?
Oh no.
Vale and Alir! So I didn't want to do Alir, because they're boring. And also I don't like the idea of Alir summoning another Fire Emblem character, even though I did have Veronica summon Xander because he's funny. But I also know that Alir becomes an emblem themselves. They become the Fire Emblem. So I picked their sister to be the main character, and then they throw out Alir like a stand because it's funny. I keep describing things as funny, but you know, this is actually really funny. Like, if they did this in Super Smash Brothers instead of giving Alir characters that people actually want in the game, I would not be angry at all. This would be hilarious. Alright, so moving on to DLC, we're going back to the Arcanea Saga, and we've got Tiki, also with the Dragon install. If you're unfamiliar with how Manikeets look in originally, they're little stubby, like, dragon friends.
They look like chocobos.
They kind of look like chocobos. They look like fat chocobo.
Yeah, when me and Huff were talking about our roster, Huff was like, "Hey, so can Tiki fight in the dragon form, or is it too big to work?" I said, "It's fat Charizard with a bird face."
Yeah, I think Warriors did the way that I would do it, by having both of those forms just share the same moves, but with a meter that once you build up, you can transform into the Manikeet, and have more reach, essentially. I would also have it be a risk-reward type system, because you can get hurt while that's active much more easily, because your hitboxes would become much larger as well. And then my next DLC character is Berkut from Shadows of Valentia.
Wow,
Oh, with Renea.
Yeah, with Renea. He would function similarly to Vale, where he would throw out Renea like a stand. And he is also another dark magic villain. We have a lot of those, actually. I have no regrets. I think it's funny. I gotta stop. I think dark magic is actually, like, aesthetically really cool. I really like the really dark colored magic. It's not something that is quite often used in terms of representing magic.
Okay.
No, most of those are wrong. We've got Lewin.
We've got Lewin instead.
They have wind magic, which is something that nobody else here has. And that gives them a little niche of their own. They would be able to push foes away with their magic, and push themselves forward. I just think wind magic's really cool, and I like the cut of their drip, so they're here. Next up, we've got Ninian, also with the dragon install. Okay,
More of a dance with dragon,
I've received your message. Thank you. But yeah, dancing dragon, yeah. moving on, we have the Black Knight. Moving on, we have Tharja from Fire Emblem Awakening. One of the most popular characters in the series again. They would be a very traditional black magic type character.
Okay.
And they would probably... I would personally give Tharja the Nosferatu mechanic, where they could damage other people to heal themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like their signature ability.
Man, you really do have a lot of dark magic uses on this roster.
I was not lying. Here's Azura from Fire Emblem Fates. She is a dancer. She will cause people to cough from her dancing. Violently convulse.
Coughing
Start to
violently.
turn to goo.
As one does.
So true. But yeah, that's the second to last Lance user that I have. To keep everyone guessing on who's going to be last. So here's Shez from Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Shez is in their promoted class, which has 2 swords, which is awesome. I personally decided against putting any archers on here because, unlike magic users, they don't really have close encounters options.
Mm-hmm.
Just to acknowledge the message in chat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Shez. Now the last character.
Who's B with a lance?
Here's Toma from Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp Effie.
Coming in with the shocking last choice.
Yeah, let's go. He's in the summoner column. He uses Cane.
I see.
Toma
I see what you
is
did there.
Toma is the only one of the main 4 in Tokyo Mirage Sessions to not be in Heroes. He was replaced with the 5th party member instead. And that is a disgrace. He is the best character from that game.
It's true. He should be in. They should put all of the remaining TMS people in Heroes.
Why is he not in Heroes? Because he's a guy. Anyway.
It's sad but true.
Yeah, I really like Toma. He's got that Sentai hero going on. I love Sentai so much. So having a little bit of that flair and also being a summoner, it's great. All right. So that's the end of my roster. I hope you enjoyed the slander towards the game that this song is from. We're gonna move on to Creeks and Huff.
Yeah, Toma's always in like the top 20 of the men's category along with Itsuke. It's gonna happen. If we keep pushing it, they're eventually gonna have to do another TMS banner.
It'll happen, eventually. Why no Lagoos? Well, also, I just hovered over the funny button that gets rid of my Photoshop.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I saw that.
Yeah, my funny Honkai Impact 3rd desktop background. Okay, so Fire Emblem Ice Link Uwu RAR X3.psd.
I forgot I named that. Please ignore that.
All right,
It's too late.
Tell me what
I should have
order.
blamed Creeks. Fuck.
Tell me what order I'm going in for this. For your layers.
You see the folders? Just follow the numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So your first character,
Yeah, I don't
Whoa.
know who that is.
Marth from the Fire Emblem.
It's Mars from the anime.
Is that Yuri Lowenthal?
Hey, look, it's
So
the
true.
guy that made $5,000 for me.
Sure. We just have Marth with the falchion as a very basic, standard sword fighter.
Yeah.
You need your noob character, and Marth is that. So next,
Yeah.
is this the order we're going?
Yes, this is the order we're going.
Okay.
I
Yeah, our
prefer
first
doing it this
choice.
way. It keeps people in suspense.
Yeah,
I've
our
also
first
done it
choice
the right.
was
Sorry, go on.
Celica for Shadows of Valencia / Gaiden. We already talked about Celica, sword fighter, magic user. The idea that we had for her magic actually was, in addition to the self-damage, also when you're running around in dungeons in Shadows of Valencia as Celica, she has a magic sprite that follows her around that lights the area for her, because a lot of her dungeons are in very dark locations. I thought it would be a really interesting idea to have that follow her around in the fighting game, and the magic would come out of that. It would go at like a downwards angle and come above her, sort of like Arc Fire in Smash Bros.
Okay.
Okay. Your third character.
He's here.
There he is! It's Sigurd's horse! Fuck the guy! We got the horse! We don't
got
need the
a-
guy, we got a whole horse!
We got a whole horse.
that one whole ass horse!
Want to elaborate?
There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to do Leaf just because I like Leaf's design better, but Creeks was like, yeah, no, Sigurd's more
The
important
guy.
and popular. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah. So Sigurd we have him as a mounted unit because we do not care about the animators because this game does not exist, or about PETA.
Yeah, fuck PETA.
So
Hey, PETA.
we have Sigurd as a mounted unit, and of course, Sigurd has a sword, but he was also, very notably, Sigurd is the first lord in Fire Emblem history to have an even proficiency with both swords and lances, so he can also swap to a lance for ranged attacks.
Fair.
Yeah. And then next we had the ever iconic, the guy that's needed. Ike, yeah. This is the fire sword guy because Smash it lies to you.
Smash lies to you, Roy. Should be less the fire sword guy than Ike, even. Ike has projectile fire.
A lot
Blue
like
flames.
You know what's really funny? You know Blade Beam on Cloud?
Yeah, I was gonna
Ike
say
just
the
has
way
that.
that Cloud fights in Smash, it's really funny because Sakurai did not design Ike that way because he wanted Ike to be big, heavy sword guy. Ike fights like Smash Cloud.
Yeah, it's really funny.
He fights more like Smash Cloud in his home series than Cloud fights like that, to be honest. Because Cloud is a sword mage in Final Fantasy. But what was 6? I genuinely don't remember.
Lynn.
All right. I don't think we have anything more to say about Lynn, do we?
No, not really. Hey Slink, you want to do the? Yeah. So next up, we were discussing Awakening. We had a lot of ways to take Awakening because, shit ton of characters, but we also wanted to implement the pair up mechanic because that's like important and synonymous with the game. So we decided to go with these goobers.
Okay. Project Cross Zone 2 style.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's that? I see nothing there.
He's there.
Fun fact, I made this icon. I did not put that there. He had to Photoshop this in himself.
Yeah. Slink, leave it like that. Don't even bother with
Impressive
the actual.
commitment.
And then we have Corin.
Corin, only dragon in the series that can transform freely in and out of a dragon state and do it partially.
Mhm.
So the shape-shifting moveset is just inherently really interesting there, even if I don't like the character.
Yeah. We were discussing like, hey, we shouldn't do all of the characters in Smash because that would just be kind of weird and lame. And then we oddly enough, after the 3 that I would say are like required, which are like Marth, Ike, and then an Awakening rep.
Mhm.
Like you need one of those 3. You objectively need one of them. Oddly enough, Corrin was the first one we picked just because they are very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we don't like Fates or Corrin.
The problem with being a Corrin fan.
Here we go. Yeah. Huff, do you want to take this one, or do you want me to explain Fjorm?
Fjorm is one of the more popular characters from Heroes. Ice Lance wielder. She also has a bunch of different alts in Heroes because that's just the nature of the game, where they just have so many different weapons and abilities to the point where you can just pull a lot from there. And Fjorm is the one that they tend to push the most. I believe that she has the most amount of alts, right?
Not entirely sure.
Out of the OCs, at least.
No.
Yeah.
Is it not? Hang on.
I
Somebody
don't
made a
think
list.
so.
I'm checking. Somebody made a list.
I have a funny list from a friend in chat. Let me get it.
She's tied for first with Veronica, Anna, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that.
I thought Veronica had more. Never mind.
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that one. I don't know what the fuck you want me to say for that name.
Let's see here. Also, Fjorm has a really nice design. It's really cute.
Yeah.
what's
Also
the-
gives us an ice elementalist, which is
True. It's something I think we wouldn't have otherwise, unless you count like certain specific moves on other characters, like Frozen Lance.
yeah. And then next up we have the iconic 3 houses category. We have Aidlagard.
Nice. She's here and ready.
Oh no, that's adorable. Where is that? Can I buy that somewhere?
I don't
I
know.
need it.
I don't remember. It is a real plush though. Okay, so story behind this. I don't know how this happened, but we have like a bunch of different slots like made like these, just a bunch of different icons, and for whatever reason, I have a folder within a folder within a folder within a folder, and then there's like you just keep doing that for like 40 times. And all of them are called like turn back, stop going, run away, go back, and at the end of it, it's just that icon. I don't know why I did that.
You don't want anyone to see your Edelgard plush.
I don't know why I did that.
It's okay, Huff.
True. Anyone in the chat, if you know where to get this plush of Eddie, drop the link. I need it.
I think I have the Lucina version of this plush, actually. It's probably the same creators.
Yeah. Slink kind of took our idea with Edelgard because I brought up doing like as an install making Hegemon like a super.
Yeah, Hegemon is just a really cool super in general.
Yeah, like I was positioning it kind of like Phoenix, where you get the right criteria, then you obtain that form. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and that's it for the first row.
She's a small lady with a big axe.
It's
There we go.
we
We
talked
already talked about the fact that we did Tiki and how we did Tiki.
Mhm.
We kind of hit it at it with the way that Slink made Tiki work.
Oh boy.
Bakut as well.
So here's Berkut. Don't worry about it.
And Arvis as well.
Yeah, we also did Arvis, probably one of the most popular characters from Genealogy and Thracia, that sort of like subset of the series. gives us a villain rep, a character that is fairly interesting and very well liked. Also, a pure fire mage, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that's it.
I just went with you because I didn't know. Somebody brought him up, but here's Tibarn.
Hey,
Yeah,
Birdman.
We knew, like, one of the first things I said is like, all right, so which Lagoos are we doing? Because we're doing one. Because they just are inherently so interesting for the concept of a fighting game. A fighter that can transform into an animal, like, freely mid-match, and transform back into a humanoid form. We were talking about doing Tibarn or Nysala just because we liked the bird Lagoos a lot. We were going to do Nysala because I thought his design was really neat, and he is, like, a morally complex character that has magic and being able to transform into a large raven. However, we decided to do Tibarn instead because Tibarn only fights by transforming into the big bird, which means that outside of that, he is throwing hands with you, which means that he is our hand-to-hand brawler / grappler character. With added mobility due to having the wings and being able to transform into a bird, which is very fun inherently, just because Fire Emblem is such a weapons-oriented series that we probably wouldn't get many brawlers otherwise, unless we did somebody from Engage, who kind of doesn't matter, because that's the only choice.
Is someone
brawler.
from Engage or somebody...
also has brawlers.
Yeah, Three Houses is the other one with brawlers. It's just... The ones that are brawlers aren't really...
Yeah. It's like, hey, do you want Raphael?
It's like, hey, do you want Raphael or Alois, or do you want the Three House character, like the Three House leaders?
We discussed doing Alois, actually. I think that was your idea.
Yeah, it was mine, because I wanted to do a brawler. And I like Raphael. Doing two characters from one house would be weird.
Yeah.
And Alois at least represents the church.
What, is that a spoiler for later on in this roster?
Nah, we opted against him.
No, he said something else. Oh yes!
Yeah, here's Board, Cord, and Barst.
Finally.
Exactly as you remember them.
Yeah, the Fire Emblem community has had it too good for too long. We need to represent the funny axe users. And there's no one funnier than Board, Cord, and Barst. So, yeah, of course they take up 2 slots, because they are that important.
Do you wanna tell the class who these characters actually are?
No,
I'm gonna be
on Barst.
Yeah, that's Board, Cord, and Barst. The one in the middle is Dogi from East. The one on the right is some fucker from Grand Blue, and the one on the left is someone from Fire Emblem who looks like a Keebler elf.
Yeah, he's what's his name? He's actually a good knight character.
And here's Dorcas. He's the...
Oh no,
He's
will
funny.
he be poisoned?
Yeah, Dorcas is such a funny character to me, because he's a meme in the community. And hey, fun fact, if you ignore Smash Bros. And the OVA, Dorcas was the first character ever named in America.
This is true.
Because he was in the ad for
Blazing
Fire Emblem on the
GBA.
GBA.
On the GBA.
Yeah, and he dies in it, which is really funny because somebody just poisons him.
It's the most un-Fire Emblem ass ad ever.
It is. It's so funny. Because they're just like, oh, somebody poisoned Dorcas, and everybody laughs. Like it's a fucking sitcom.
Fire Emblem, the game where you kill all of your allies.
Yeah.
So, for a bit of clarification, my favorite Fire Emblem character is Robin. If it is not Robin, depending on my mood, that actually it's Dimitri. That's a lie. But after Dimitri, my favorite Fire Emblem character is Robin. And if it's not Robin that day, then it's Robin's daughter, Morgan. I was told that I was not going to be allowed to do Robin on the roster because we didn't just want to have the 3 awakening characters people are expecting, because that would be boring, and we already have someone else that uses 11 sword in the game. So we ended up doing interesting things for Awakening, and one of those interesting things was Olivia, because we realized we didn't have a dancer otherwise. And Olivia, she is a sword user, but she has a very interesting particular fighting style due to being a dancer, with a lot of very graceful movements and spins, kicks and things like that, that I think would make her stand apart from the other sword users on the roster.
I think having a dancer on here is a good choice, and Olivia is probably like the most iconic dancer in Fire Emblem, because a lot of them don't get that much attention.
It's her or Azura, and Azura's kind of her own thing.
Yeah, she's basically a lord.
Yeah, she's
a lord, so
not really. She has the ability to dance and do that shit, but she's not really a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
This is a dancer with a sword. Anyway, who's next?
Oh yeah, Gentleman Goo.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, everybody's favorite character, Gentleman Goo. We needed the Goopy Grandpa. Anyway, here's Ryoma. He's the electric lobster. He's funny. We wanted to represent Hoshido and Nor. That's our Hoshido rep. And next is Veronica. You want to talk about Veronica?
Yeah, we talked about Veronica earlier. Dark Mage, Summoner, funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pretty much sums it up.
There we go. And there's Dimitri. He's Pockers. He's very cool.
He's my favorite
he's a
character.
tall guy with a big lance. He's got a very rough fighting style that is a very interesting combination of the refined training of somebody that has been fighting for their entire life and just the savage, wild swings of somebody that is tweaking permanently at all times.
Have you seen what they named his form before he gets fixed in the time skip?
What is it called officially? Because I've always known him as the Boar King because
It's
of
Savage Boar mode.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So Dimitri just has kind of a ready-made moveset because of Fire Emblem Warriors 2, Three Hopes, and some interesting stuff in there. I think that a really fun dichotomy with Dimitri could be his end quotes and his intro quotes could be like somewhat calm and, reasonable, a very firm personality, but when he actually gets into battle itself, some of the crazy slips out because he has a hard time controlling it. I think that puts us on row 3.
Yep. And
We're starting off with another funny one. So this is something we decided on early on. We were talking about, do we want to do Seda or the Pegasus Sisters? And we were like, fuck yeah, Pegasus Sisters.
Yeah. The idea we had behind it was like they'd be able to summon the other ones for like special attacks, and like the super would be there. Oh god, what's the name of their like triangle attack?
The triangle attack, yeah.
The triangle attack.
Yeah, so the idea would be that it's like Est is the main one, and Paula and Katria come out to support her because Est is
the youngest.
She's the youngest and she's the most reckless, so they need to come in and make sure that she doesn't get herself killed. So Est is, fighting with her little halberd on her own, and her light specials, a lot of those call out Paula, and her medium specials call out Katria. And they can have different variations, like the Luane brothers in Grand Blue Versus.
Which is
so your heavy variants could just call out both of them at once, but it puts them on a longer cooldown for when you can summon either of them again.
Not having all three of them there at once at the same time.
Yeah.
Just take
all three of them there
screen.
at the same time is what the super is for. That's the triangle attack.
Fair.
I want you to know, I made this slot, I cropped everything out, and then I like deleted I saved it, I deleted everything so I could move on, and then I noticed I misspelled Pegasus, and I had to do it again. No, wait, it wasn't Pegasus I misspelled. I misspelled the word sisters. It was sisters.
Also, I wanted to focus on the Pegasus sisters. Huff was insistent that the Pegasus itself take up like a majority of the slot.
Yes,
so
I demanded it.
I was not allowed to have the slot actually focus on the playable characters.
The horse is part of the playability.
Huff just likes horses.
They're funny, and they don't exist. We need to represent the fact that it's medieval times, back when horses were real.
So, yeah, we have Erica and Ephraim. I'm also pretty sure we misspelled Erica's name on the slot.
Yeah, I think there should be another I in between the E and R.
There's supposed to be an I between the E and the R.
Well, you gotta go fix it.
That.
Yeah, you're too focused on sisters. You forgot the actual sister.
Wait, did I?
Yeah, Erica's got an I in between.
Erica is like,
why is there an I there?
I told you this like 3 times. I guess I just forgot to correct it when I saw the actual slot.
Okay, I'm working on it. God damn. Why do they spell her like that?
Because it's
how
a
the name is
fantasy
spelled.
Don't worry about it.
It's a shitty name.
It's literally just a normal name. It's just spelled slightly differently. Also, is it just me, or is there no drop shadow on them?
There's no drop shadow on them.
I was hoping nobody would point it out.
Well, you gotta fix
two
it
things
anyway.
to go fix.
I noticed that literally like at 2 a.m. and I was like, I don't care enough. It's Erica and Ephraim.
Yeah, but Erica and Ephraim, I'm not sure why we put them here, but actually, wait, no, I remember now. It's just because, so our roster is not organized with DLC in mind. We just have the completed roster.
Oh, I thought
so
we said DLC would be the bottom row.
Did we?
I thought we said.
I mean, the choices we made worked out that way. I had just assumed that we put this shit wherever. But I guess it does work out that way. Fucking the bottom row is DLC. Don't worry about it.
Fuck it, we will do it live.
But so our roster is just out of order, so we just have the FE8 characters at the bottom. Don't worry about it. But yeah, no. Erica, in most depictions I've seen of her, is a fencer. She uses a rapier. So the idea that we had was Erica has a lot of stabbing and sweeping moves like a fencer would. So she has moves where she can, for certain variants of her specials, she can call in Ephraim, and Ephraim will, as a lance is often used for stabbing and sweeping, do the same moves with his lance, which is like he'll do it alongside her, which means greater reach. It's a funny way to handle that. What's
Oh shit. The lad. Hopefully with his horse, right?
Yeah, he has a horse.
Yeah, Reinhard fights on a horse.
Yes,
I
he has a
neglected
horse.
to tell him that Reinhardt has a horse because I knew that he would put the horse in the slot.
I didn't even make this one.
Oh, this one was pre-made?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made this.
This
This has existed for many years.
I guess we've just had FaceApp Reinhardt then.
Yes, that's the only Reinhardt slot that exists on our
He's
database.
finally getting acknowledged.
Yeah, so Reinhardt, ironically or not, extremely popular character. Probably the most popular character to come out of Thracia. He is an antagonistic figure. He is another sword mage, but he's got he has a sword and he has the Sora spell combinations. The classic Final Fantasy, he's got Blizzaga, Thundaga, and Firaga. So you can make him an interesting elemental mage. He's also got the drip. He was busted early FE Heroes. That's really funny if that's the reason he's so popular.
That's the only reason he's popular.
The only reason.
Yeah, he came out and he dominated the meta for 2 years straight, and nobody could take Reinhardt down.
That's hilarious. I love that. That's why, that's what he's smiling about.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And then next we have
The Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay.
Weakest character.
Yeah. Here's the Black Knight from the Tellius games. Had to be here. Extremely, probably, I think, the most popular antagonist in the Fire Emblem series.
No, Garen's right there.
True. Unless you count like the other house leaders, depending on your route. He's a huge guy in armor with a huge sword. So, you know, very large character, very heavy character, and on top of that, he has he's got skills that can pierce through an opponent's guard at the cost of being somewhat slow, and he has the ability to teleport, which is fun. Which we would be giving him warp just because the idea of a character that is the designated huge, heavy super armor character being able to just teleport behind you is the most toxic thing I can think of, and I want it.
I hope the intro to his fights is just him kicking a door down, walking out.
The shed appears and he just comes out of it.
What's up?
His like people from his army, like every time that match starts, if he fights in like a woods, his army builds a fucking like door for him to kick open.
Yes. He knows how to make an entrance.
The house that he comes out of just spawns on whatever stage you're playing in.
He warps it in.
Yeah. The whole house warps in with him.
All right. Who's next? DNF Duel. Next.
Roy.
Yo, Roy?
Yeah, we got Roy.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, that's Roy.
There we go.
Nice. Keep it pair up for the third time.
Yeah.
So I was insistent that I wanted the Awakening character to be a pair up. However, that was actually the third pair up that we chose, and I had to fight for the Awakening character being a pair up.
Oh, no, I agreed it should be a pair up. I just didn't like Robin in it for some reason. And you'll see why later.
So the Huff was insistent on doing for Erica and Ephraim, it just kind of worked out that way because that's the way they usually do those characters.
Yeah. And I just didn't give a shit about Sacred Stones.
Huff was insistent on doing Roy and Lilina in one because we have other characters with a fire sword. We have other sword lords that are aggressive. We have other pure pyromancers and other pure mages. Roy and Lilina are two of the most popular characters in the series. They are extremely connected to each other, but we couldn't find any way to make either of them interesting on their own, and we liked the other options for their archetypes, like Crom, Lucina, and Arvis better.
Mm-hmm.
So they are, yes, Dusty, they are. Japan fucking loves Fire Emblem 6 for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, Roy is like one of the most popular characters in the series, and Lilina is one of the most popular Binding Blade characters. I don't know if she's the second most popular, if there's some other rando from that game that's more popular than her, but she's pretty up there.
This was just a way to kind of make them more unique on their own, because Roy and Lilina really do just do the same things as everybody else here, so making them like the same character with like Roy being the main fighter and Lilina being support that can like summon out magic makes them intrinsically more unique.
Yeah.
Just very fire orientated.
They're all microwaves all the time. And then we have the reason that Robin is not in the game.
The best character!
Somebody who uses 11 sword. This was the first character that we put on the roster. Huff demanded it.
Yeah, I literally told you, Huff, that all you would have to do is say, "I want to do Gangrel," and Creeks would go, "Yeah, sure."
I like Gangrel. He's really funny.
He did not have to fight for it. That is true. He said, "I want to do Gangrel," and I did say, "Yeah, sure."
So we started off with Marth, Ike, Lynn, and then the three house leaders because... Shit. Shouldn't have said that. Anyway, we started off with them because, you know, obligatory needed. And then I said, okay, the hardest part about these rosters is villains, because Fire Emblem villains kind of suck.
we have a pretty decent amount of good ones. We got Berkut, Arvis, Reinhardt, Black Knight, Gangrel, and
Gentleman
Edelgard.
Gugu.
Technically Ryoma, if you want to get that way. Veronica too, but she doesn't
Edelgard
really
and Dimitri,
that
don't
way.
count them.
Mm-hmm.
Dorcas, if you think he's the villain to Hector.
Dorcas is the villain to Hector fans on this roster, because like 3 times I was like, hey, shouldn't we do Hector instead of Dorcas? And you just said no.
No.
And I said, okay.
True
Dorcas is
APC.
important.
Corrin is the antagonist of Smash fans.
True. Yeah, Gangrel was the first character we picked after the obligatory things. And the reason is just because I wanted to do him, because in terms of villain, he is, like, super unique in terms of portrayal and personality. Like, there's nobody quite like him.
He's the Mad King. He's like a weird jester-esque fellow.
He's just an asshole.
He moves around in a really interesting way. Like he arcs in weird angles. He's got a Levin sword. He's got a dagger in his offhand. He's a trickster, so he could lay like lightning traps on the ground with the Levin sword. Or like, I don't know. He's a trickster from a sand kingdom, so he could throw pocket sand at you.
I remember pitching he has pockets.
It just fights like an asshole.
Yeah, he's just a dick.
And then who's next? DNF duel. There we go. Yeah, so we were talking about how for the Fates, like for Fates, you have to have 2 nobles, and one of the first things we decided on for the roster is we're not doing Camilla because we fucking hate her.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, like, I wanted to do Leo and Takumi, and initially the idea was like Ryoma and Xander, obviously, but it was immediately pointed out by Huff. Huff didn't want us to do
the counterparts.
Counterparts of each other, so he didn't want it to be like Leo and Takumi or Ryoma and Xander, because they are each other's like counterparts from the opposite like Norian and Hoshidan like kingdoms. So the issue there is we had to choose between Ryoma and Leo. Like the ultimatum I was given was Ryoma and Leo, or Takumi and Elise. And I really wanted Takumi, so even though Takumi and Elise was the bad ending, I thought Ryoma would be kind of dripless, so I was like, put it on a wheel. And mercifully, Ryoma and Leo won, so we don't have to reveal an Elise slot and talk about it.
It was actually the opposite. And I said, hey, can we do the other?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Takumi and Elise won, and we said, nah, fuck that. And we just
democracy.
Democracy wins again.
It's a dictatorship, you see.
Yeah, nobody's allowed to succeed in my dictatorship.
So yeah, Leo is of course he's a Norian dark mage, and he is a pure mage, like several of the other mages that we have in the roster. He uses various tricks and trinkets. You know,
he has dark magic, and they position it with like hands sometimes, if I remember correctly. So he could be like,
yeah, the animations for like casting in the 3DS games are like very extra.
Yeah. I already forgot who the next one is, to be honest. Oh, yeah. That one.
Nice.
Yeah, next is the only Engage character that we have, because me and Huff have not played Engage. We have no interest.
No, I have. I just didn't. I got like 5 hours in, and I'm like, no.
Okay, so Huff played some of Engage and dropped it, and I have no interest in playing or buying it. So we were like, all right, we got to do an Engage character. Are we doing Lear? And Huff just said no. So I'm like, all right, so who are we doing? So we looked around at the Engage lineup for a character that seemed interesting. There's a few designs in there that I like. I like the old man. He's very funny.
Yeah, I actually like that character. He is funny.
Yeah, I like the old man. I like several of the knight ladies that they have in the lineup, and several of the side characters had pretty cool designs. But we agreed the most popular character from the game is probably Unica. And it also allows us to, because her associated emblem is Micaiah, who we do not have. And she is kind of the main character of a video game, so this allows us to get Micaiah into the game. Also,
Yeah.
Unica is a rogue, or I say that rogue.
Thief.
She's like a thief with a dagger. Archetype that we do not have otherwise.
She also does some like trap stuff in the game, if I remember correctly, and she also has the most famous line in Fire Emblem Engage with "Hiya fucking papaya," which is a sentence ever.
It is one of the sentences of all time. One of the greetings of all time, for sure.
I'm fine with it. It's like, it's goofy, but it's
I like it. It fits. Yunaka's whole appeal is that half of her is really goofy, and then the other half is like, I'm gonna kill you now.
Serious, yeah. I like the dichotomy. Hiya fucking papaya. Just makes me groan.
I feel like if I played Engage, Unica would either be my favorite character in the game or my least favorite. I have genuinely no idea.
Yeah.
She's my favorite, so you've made a good choice.
I will say, I wish that the more popular line from the game was just Alear saying "taters."
Taters.
Taters.
I saw that on Twitter. I was like, why is Alear talking like David Hayter?
It's so fucking
taters. Taters.
Taters.
Taters.
So my cat is here. Everybody say hi to my cat.
Hi, cat.
Hi, cat.
I'm naming you Jared.
No.
As a name.
It's too late. I already named it. So says I.
We will not be doxing Slink's cat on stream, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, so next up is the one that I accidentally spoiled.
Yeah, and there it is.
There he is.
Your sword.
There's Claude. He's a pure archer, which we don't have a whole lot of.
He's a trickster, he's an asshole.
He's not an asshole, he's a really nice guy. He's just a little prankster. He's a merry prankster that he is. He's he's flipping and dipping. He does have a wyvern post time skip. I think we elected not to give it to him.
I think we just said super material.
Yeah, it's for a super. He kind of, the way that, like, because he's a very agile, flipping and dipping archer. He can do like arrow rain and like rapid bow draws for like rapid firing arrows and stuff like that. It just kind of played better when he was boots on the ground. So the wyvern can be for like supers.
Like flies in and he jumps onto it.
Yeah, like intro, outro, super.
Three Houses has real-time dismount, so like doesn't matter.
Exactly. So
I think I also elected to say one of his supers is like you know the adjutant system? I said call in like one of the weird ass groups that you can call in and then do like the explosion trap. And I think one of the other things I said was have one of his soldiers just come in and stand behind the enemy for like a trip. So like
crouches behind them.
Yes, exactly. Crouch behind him and get pushed over it.
That's his throw.
Yeah.
It's his back throw specifically. So now we're getting into the road that is apparently DLC.
Yeah, and nothing will sell DLC more than the guy that I thought name was pronounced Camus.
It is pronounced Camus.
I thought it was pronounced Camus.
Yeah, it's Camus.
Yeah, Camus. It is Camus. So here's Camus. He's
silly people. That's not Camus. That's Sirius.
True. That is serious. We wanted to have the. I wanted him to have the mask because I think the mask is hilarious. So. So Camus, very recurring character for the initial games. No, put him back. I don't like this artwork as much, so I didn't use it.
Nice.
Good bit.
That'll do it.
Different guy, never heard of him. Who's Zeke? Anyway, mounted unit, very large, imposing figure, very serious man with a very serious fighting style, very different from the fighting style of Ephraim, who is mimicking his sister's fencing movements, or Dimitri, who is just going ham with it. Here's a lance user that is very calm, very composed, and very sturdy. He's a really sturdy guy. For you in the audience. So then we have. Yeah, here we go.
Joshua.
So here's is this outside of Lynn, who we are practicing, like we're positioning her. She has the bow, and she's more of an Aijitsu katana user. I think Joshua is our first like traditional Myrmidon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we wanted a Myrmidon, and we were like, okay, are we doing Navarre? Because we flipped back and forth on doing Navarre for a while before we decided on the Pegasus Sisters. Joshua was the first FE8 character that I became aware of the existence of. I like this design a lot. I love any archetype of like suave, handsome fantasy guy that is like fucking shitty gambler. That kind of specific archetype of guy. I like Joshua's design so much that I have a character whose design is partially inspired by just the hat and the long hair.
Nice.
And we were talking about it. We were like, yeah, let's. We didn't have any better ideas for what to do for the FE8 character, because a lot of the more important characters were characters that have like
overlap.
They're characters that have overlap with a lot of the other stuff that we already had on the roster. So we were like, hey, screw it, let's do Joshua, because like I said, Myrmidon, so he's a very, he's shifty, he's very fast, he's like a tricky rushdown character who doesn't deal a whole lot of damage, but he has like he would have like long strings. He could be a Rekka character with various sword strikes. I think that maybe you could give him like a command dash that he could act out of, or a flip of some kind to kind of play around on the idea of the Myrmidons being very agile, very nimble, skill-based sword fighters. We just thought it would be fun. You could also give him Johnny's coin throw for no reason because he's a gambler.
Joshua is one of the best characters from Sacred Stones, and my opinion is only partially formed by the fact that we share the same name. So, good choice.
All right. Next up is the.
Oh shit! Interesting choice.
Yeah.
So we wanted a cipher character. Like I think Huff said that he wanted a cipher character.
Yeah.
Huff,
I assumed this was going to come up.
Yeah. The process that we used was we had a slot dedicated to cipher, and we decided at the end, because she was like among the last characters that we picked. We decided at the end that we were going to stick to the ones in Shadows of Valentia, because they have more defined, and that left us with Shade, Ellie, Yuka. I think her name's Yuta or
Yuzu.
Yuzu. I'm terrible with names, and I already forgot the guy's name.
Randall.
That's what it was. I knew it was something stupid. Yeah, if there's anyone in the chat named that,
Iconic Monsters Inc. villain.
Yeah. Speak up, all my Randalls. You have a dumb name.
Come on, man.
Oof. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I basically just left it open and said, hey, pick one. Because I just said, I like all of these designs. Let's not do Yuzu because we have enough swords. You can pick.
Yeah, so he left it up to me, and I was like, I want to do Shade, but you've complained that we have too many dark mages already, because we have like Arvis and Reinhardt and Celica and Leo and et cetera, et cetera. And Shade is specifically a Norian Dark Mage, which has a decent amount of overlap with Leo, although she has different spells and is a lot taller and slimmer than Leo's build. However, so I wanted to do Shade, but I was like, maybe we should do, Randall or Ellie instead. But I wasn't able to choose, so I sent a DM to our good friend Wario the Legend, and I said, Wario, choose one, and he said Shade, so we did Shade.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That is the process that it took to get there. And then I found out about a guy who wasn't in, that wasn't in Cypher?
Oh, Cypher.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't in Shadows of Valentia, and it was the, Ellie's retainer, and it's just like a butler in a suit of armor, and I just thought that was hilarious, and I needed to bring it up. That's all for that.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, it's Emma, not Ellie.
Emma, yeah. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was leaning Emma at some point, and the reasoning was very stupid. The explicit reason was, I noticed, hey, Fire Emblem is a series known for child soldiers. We don't have enough child soldiers.
Oof.
And I'm leaving that exactly where it is. Moving on.
So I don't think it's Alice's retainer, not Emma's retainer.
God, I'm terrible
But
at things.
Alice and Emma are both. Actually, is Alice a child soldier? I have no idea.
Yeah, I did research into this like last week, and I am not a morning person, so I'm here, man.
Yeah.
Like, I almost slept through this, to be honest.
There we go. Yeah, Anna. We agreed that we needed to have some version of Anna. We agreed to just use the Warriors version for the slot because it's a really cute design. It's heavily indicative of the Awakening and Fates Annas, which are the ones that would likely be pulled from the most. And it's also, like, we agreed it would be an original Anna, just we weren't going to draw up an original Anna design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, so, like, we were just like, use the Anna design from Warriors, because we don't have anybody else from that game, and it's basically OC-ANNA-design.jpg already.
Yeah, that's fair.
So she's a sword user. She holds her sword, so she has the Trickster Clash, so she holds her sword in a reverse grip. She can use a bow, and she has the power of the stock market behind her. If I was allowed, I would make that into a mechanic. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you ever play the Bleach DS fighting games?
I did not. Does horror work that way? No,
there's a character in that game. He's one of the like pre-Soul Society characters. I cannot remember his name now.
Maybe?
It's the TV Exorcist guy.
Yeah, Don Kanoke.
Don Kanoke, yeah. He has a gimmick where depending on how many attacks you successfully hit, his popularity goes up, and that makes him stronger. But the more you get hit, his popularity goes down, and it makes his attacks weaker.
Yeah.
Just do something like that.
Every time I hear about a new Bleach character or location, I just hear the name, and I'm just like, that's funny. What was the one that you told me about yesterday that I was chuckling?
Not Kanoki, sorry. Got the name wrong.
Oh, God. What the hell was the one that you told me about last night that I was chuckling about?
I think it was one that Brian posted. I do not remember her name. But you were also giggling when we were talking about the Espadas in Hueco Mundo. So...
It was Hueco Mundo.
Not Hueco Mundo, Hueco Mundo.
Hueco
Mundo, okay. That's just such a fun word to say, Hueco Mundo.
It's really funny.
I'm easily entertained by funny words.
Yeah, Ganame said Candace Catnip was the character.
Oh yeah, Candace Catnip!
That you were giggling about.
Bleach is not real.
Also, yeah, our Fire Emblem roster is nonsense, by the way.
We're getting last in the poll.
Anyway, here's Zephiel. We already talked about Zephiel, why he's fucking cool. His weapon is fucking cool, and he's got lightning crits, which is neat. when he crits somebody, lightning comes out of his weapon. Anyway, Slink, you're not
No,
special.
no
fuck
way,
you.
no way.
Yeah.
You're not special.
Soma 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Dude, we were so mad.
I literally got a text from Creeks when you revealed it, just in caps. Fuck.
Just in all caps. So we were like, okay, we want to do somebody from TMS. We were floating around the idea of doing one of the Mirages on their own because we thought it would be funny. I was like, we should do Mirage Virion. We decided not to because he's really weirdly shaped.
I
And,
think that we decided not to just because he wasn't attached to another character, and we wanted to do a JoJo
Yeah.
stand thing.
So we were looking at the characters' Carnage forms, and the Carnage form that we liked the most, the one that immediately stuck out to us, was Toma's, and with Kane present. So we were like, hell yeah, Toma Akagi from SMT Sharp FE.
I
Or
would
sorry,
just like to
TMS Sharp
correct
FE.
the lack of TMS knowledge in the chat. In our voice chat, Virion's attached to Ellie.
Yeah, Ellie.
No, wait, no,
And
we decided we
Eleonora.
didn't like Ellie. That's what it was. You didn't like Ellie.
You didn't like
I
Eleonora.
liked Ellie's design a lot. I didn't like her Carnage form, and
Yeah.
the thing that was, I was talking about doing Virion on his own.
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, that
and
we
I did
were
not
worried
do a
about.
Mirage. If we were going to do a Mirage on its own, it would have been Kane anyway.
Yeah, probably.
Because we really liked the double-edged lance that Kane had. But we ended up doing Toma. So yeah, here's a hot-blooded anime lance user with a JoJo stand that has a twin blade lance. So funny. I guess we just both have this now. There's going to be a lot
truly
of
the most popular TMS character.
there's
Incredible.
going to be a lot of
God damn it.
extremely confused Tsubasa fans on Twitter.com when they see these rosters.
I really hope that Nanten
All
didn't do
three of them.
Tsubasa.
I'm afraid I'm going to spoil mine. I didn't have a single TMS character, which is a shame because I fucking love that game.
I've owned that game on 2 systems and still haven't started it.
You
It
gotta
is
start it, man.
extremely-
It's like one of the best Persona games.
It's
I got it for
extremely funny to me,
$1.20 at
yeah.
Walmart for the Switch, and I just need to let people know that because how?
Yeah,
That's really cheap. What the fuck?
$1.20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Insane.
I have not played TMS. We did a lot of monkey diving.
Well, you're cutting out.
Yeah,
Whoa!
Creek cutting out.
Am I still cutting out?
No.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I have not played TMS myself. We did a lot of monkey diving for this roster in general. We just picked the character that we thought looked the most appealing.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I do not think TMS would be my vibe.
Yeah, fair. It's not. That's the problem with it. It's got a very distinct vibe that
Yeah.
definitely doesn't mesh with a lot of people. But it's so
Alright.
good.
Next is, it's Azura. She's
Wow. For people who don't like Fates, you sure have a lot of Fates.
It's
Yeah,
because
Fates-
Fates is 3 games and it has an extremely varied cast of characters that are unfortunately extremely popular. And with the exception of like Corrin themselves and like Camilla, most of the major characters, and Azura also, who we also do not like but is also here. Most of the major characters in Fates are fine.
Yeah. Like,
Not
I
Aaron.
like all
Aaron's
of
awful.
the Hoshidan characters in terms of, like, the royals.
hmm
And for Nor, I only dislike Camilla, and I couldn't give a shit about Elise. And Azura is just the... God, what's the word for it? Deuteragist? Essentially, for
Deuteragonist.
Protagonist.
Deuteragonist, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it kind of felt necessary.
Yeah, we mentioned we didn't have like a traditional dancer. That's just in the terms of like how dancer is typically presented in Fire Emblem, because Azura is a very weird case for a dancer. She's got like the water stuff going on, and she is a lance user, and she can dance so hard that
People
groans
turn to
with
goo.
increasing discomfort, and you turn into goo. So don't worry about it. We got your sword dancer. Here's your lancer dancer.
All right. Next is Shezawegi from Fire Emblem Three Hopes.
I was confused for a second there. Who the fuck you? I know who Shezo is, but I was like, why? What?
I don't know
here's
enough about
Shez.
Three Hopes, so this is like
Yeah, I was the person that really wanted to do Shez because I played like, unfortunately, I played like halfway through Three Hopes, and then I had to drop it because of life stuff, and then I never got back around to it. Although I should at some point. It's just the Switch has very limited space, and I downloaded the game, so I'd have to reinstall it. Yeah, no, like Shez is a lot of fun. So Shez has an install super, where a lot of crazy flames and energy, come out from their twin swords that they have. Their twin sword Myrmidon.
Creeks cut out again.
No.
Lost him.
Twin Sword Myrmidon Fighter.
Yeah, and they're just they've got an install super where they call upon the power of Arvel to gain an orange gradient to their already extremely neon purple hair, and they just start flipping and dipping. Also, just a really charming character, very very funny and amusing.
Shez is one of the better modern protagonists in Fire Emblem, which is really funny because it comes from a Warriors game of all things.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, Shez is the only FE Warriors rep that we have.
That
Oh
is
no,
no
we
surprise.
didn't do the fucking blonde kid.
Unless you count Anna. I guess we can count Anna because of the slot.
Okay, now we
Alright.
have the best Fire Emblem Three Houses character, Lorenz. Shout out to Lorenz, he's so cool.
He had no hair.
He's bald.
He's bald.
He's always been bald, you don't remember?
Yes. that better be a summon.
That's
Yeah,
the
so-
super.
Flane was pitched to me because we couldn't figure out who we wanted our fourth Three Houses character to be because we agreed that there should be one, and we were joking about different options, or we were talking about different options. Like Alois was mentioned, Ray was mentioned. We wanted somebody that was like associated with a church.
Yeah, we talked about Death Knight as well.
Yeah, I was kind of against doing Death Knight because I didn't want.
Oh yeah,
Death
and
Knight was really
Gatekeeper.
associated
And
with-
Gatekeeper.
Yeah, we
Gatekeeper.
talked briefly about Gatekeeper, but we mentioned Flane, and at first I was like, okay, Flane could be funny because I thought about it in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, you have the red, blue, yellow, and then you just have the green.
Freaks,
Nice.
Yeah.
you didn't want to partake of sweet delights.
I did not want to partake of Sweet Delights because we already had one Char Aznable on the roster. No, I didn't want to do.
Oh my god, they're
Uh,
voiced by the same guy.
Yeah.
I did not want to do Yuritsa because I associate Yuritsa with the Black Eagles, and so to me that would be like having a second Black Eagles character. So Flane was pitched at some point as a joke character, and then we started talking about it, and then I accidentally sold Huff on it because we were talking about. So Flane she has a training lance. So she has she is kind of a bad lance user. So she's got like a training lance, and she does very stubby attacks with it that don't deal like a lot of damage. She's like the Dan, but she has very strong light magic attacks, such as Nosferatu and a self-heal. And her super is that she conjures a light magic construct like a Green Lantern of a fish that jumps up out from the ground and swallows the opponent.
Nice.
That was the idea that I pitched, and Huff liked it so much that we just decided to do Flane.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I suggested it as like a joke character because I was like, hey, this represents the church route, and the church designs are iconic and important. People like those characters. And then he just explained everything to do with the fish, and I'm like, fuck yeah. Because I didn't use Flane on my route. I started off with her. I was like, wow, you're pretty weak. And then I benched her.
Yeah, it was the idea of just her being a a joke character, but then we have some like made up nonsense super for her that goes hard
Yeah.
and is based on something funny about the character.
We should summon Oa.
Summon yeah. The idea for it actually in my head was I was thinking about the Madara's whistle from Bloodborne, where it's like a whistle you blow on it and a snake head just pops out of the ground and clamps. And it was just the idea of like, yeah, she does a she does like a little movement with a staff, and
She performs a rain dance.
She performs a rain dance and the fish just comes out. Yeah, so here's Fish Dan. For everybody that wanted that one Skullgirls character, Mineta, to be... Not Mineta, Jesus. Minerva? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For everybody that wanted her to be playable, here you go. Here's your Fish Dan.
I think I also pitched, like, having Kuma's super from Tekken, where he just, like, uses a fish as a bat.
Yeah, no, she the new Kuma super from Tekken 8, where the fish transforms into a missile. The fish transforms into a javelin of light.
Oh my god, I forgot about the fucking javelins of light. I forgot I wanted to pitch one of the stupid fucker from Slithers in the Dark for that super. Fuck!
Javelins of Light are so funny that the scaling of the Javelins of Light is the reason that Dimitri beat Guts in Death Battle, which is really funny.
It's actually not. He won without that.
Okay, fair.
He had every advantage, dude.
It's what people talk about.
Also, we did bring... The other option that we brought up was Nemesis, because villain, and it...
Mm-hmm.
Byleth's moveset without having to do it with Byleth, so our Three Houses cast wouldn't be boring as shit.
Also, the art that we pulled up for Nemesis from Heroes is absolutely godlike and gorgeous. It is by the Octopath and Nier artist, and it looks really good. Go look it up.
Heroes artists work too hard for a game that's... I just don't want to play. So yeah, anyway, hey, Nanten, you want to show us whatever the hell's happening over there?
Sure thing. I feel like, I guess Link time to bring my one up. I feel like my roster is either going to be quite liked or quite hated. Because I have taken some creative liberty. So you start from the very bottom where I've labeled them as the rows. So first up, number 1, we've got...
1 second, I'm just gonna do something really quick.
Oh yeah, change the background, that's fine. I didn't think about it. Well, I did think about it, but I decided I didn't think about it at the same time.
It's a little less bright.
Okay, so first one,
what?
Not Marth, new OC.
Oh no.
These Fire Emblem spin-off games always have some kind of new character. And that we brought it up before, a problem with Fire Emblem is like, everyone uses weapons, there's no traditional fighter going on. And I was like, well, here we go. New OC, punches, grapples, like, it's just the traditional fighting game character. I used Kirin there just as a placeholder, because I wasn't going to draw up a new OC for this. But that's the idea. It'd be an original character who punches people and grapples and stuff like that. So that's all right. Number 2, we're going to have a lot of repeats, I think, initially at the start. So, Link, one put number 2, we got Marth. Marth, I went with the
New.
Yeah, so sorry. So with Marth, I went with the
New Mystery of the Emblem.
Yeah. But the Rappe, I was trying to say not the shield version that Slink had. Sorry, but more like his Smash appearance where he fights with a Rappe. Stabs people. Sorry, I got thrown off there because Slink pressed 3, but the character didn't show up for some reason. Can you make Marth disappear for me for a second?
You continued talking, so I'm holding down on the 3 layer.
Ah, right. Oh, okay. It threw me off when the icon didn't appear. So Marth just plays kind of similar to his Smash. He's a more fencing type character rather than what Slink had him as, a more default. Okay, now you can let go. Roy is up next, and Roy fights again. I sort of took it a bit more from Smash. If Marth does more of a Rappe style thing, then Roy is more of the overhead type of lord. Bigger sword than Marth. Obviously not a wider sword than Marth, like not a thin sword. Not as elegant of a fighter. But yeah, a bit more rash, I guess, is the way to describe it. Yeah, so you can go to the next one. Because the next one is another Smash character.
Green?
Oh, I made the background colors based on what games they were from.
Oh.
Except for the OC. So all the Binding Blade characters are green. Ike is obviously Big Sword. I went for Path of Radiance Ike because I do have some Radiant Dawn characters in here. And I wanted to represent both games. So I decided to go for Initial Grail Mercenaries for the Path of Radiance stuff. So Ike is here. Again, Big Sword, really popular character, a much heavier hitter. You could use the axe, potentially, because he can learn it when he becomes a hero. But that can be a part of his moveset, but obviously Ragnar is his main weapon of choice. And then up next, we got another popular Fire Emblem character, and one that's, I think, pretty sure has been on every roster. We got Lyn. So Lyn, obviously, we've talked about it. Swordmaster, very fast. Potentially, you could have it so that she uses 2 swords instead of 1. Depends on how you want to do it, because she's sometimes shown with 2 swords in games like Awakening and Warriors. But yeah, the whole point is a very fast sword fighters. I put all of the swordies up front. I've done this roster kind of by weapon type. So we're going to have all the sword people first. Alright, up next. And Sigurd. And I, unlike Slink, I have done horse.
Yes!
He has horse.
Hold on, I got you. Hold on.
My justification for this is that the JoJo fighting game has characters who actually fight on horses. Like, and it makes it work. So Fire Emblem has mounted units as a key part of it. So I don't see why you wouldn't do that here, given how much mounted units are important for the series. So, and given, it's an original game, we're not basing it on anything in particular, so well, other than the vaguely Grand Blue Fantasy type, so horses is fine. So Sigurd, he has his horse. Alright, next up we've got Olivia from Fire Emblem Awakening.
Oh, wow.
So, already up, I know. I said it before, but Olivia is like the most iconic traditional dancer. I know you got Azura, but she's kind of different.
Yeah, I think that's just objectively true.
Yeah.
Like, Azura's the only competition, and Azura's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, so like I wanted to have a dancer on here. I thought it'd be make for a more an interesting fighting style, and Olivia was like the obvious choice for that. So yeah, she's here. She's up at the top. And then next up along, we've got another character that hasn't been on anyone's roster, actually, Soth. So I'm surprised. I mean, I guess Slink's not the biggest of Tellius fans, but Soth feels to me like the most important thief character in the series. Like, thieves usually tend to play a background role or have like minor story importance, like Matthew in Blazing Sword.
Yeah, I was gonna say Matthew is the one that I associate the most with.
Yeah, Soth is like the Deuteragonist. I mean, Radiant Dawn has like 3 protagonists.
Feels like 4 of them.
But Soth is like the Deuteragonist, I guess, for this. Again, this is why I sort of split them up. Ike is the Path of Radiance one, but Soth is the Radiant Dawn version of his character, not the Path of Radiance one, because that's the more iconic version of him. And yeah, I wanted a thief because it's one of the best classes in my opinion, so I went for Soth. And speaking of Tellius, up on the last slot in this row, we've got the Black Knight. So big, heavy, big sword. It was mentioned before, but Black Knight is like the most popular villain in the series. I wanted to have him here. He's also... there's not much of a difference between their designs, but this is specifically the Path of Radiance version of the Black Knight, so that he matches with Ike. But yeah, Black Knight is up here as our first villain. Alright, row 2. Next up, we got the Pegasus Knight. We got Shida. And just like Sigurd has a horse, Shida will have her Pegasus that she fights on.
More horse violence!
Yes. Shida's an interesting one moveset-wise. Like, technically, in the original game, a sword was her default weapon, but then in updates beyond that, they made it her, like, signature weapon is a lance instead. So that's the one I went to for this. So Shida is a lance user. I think that's also more traditionally Pegasus Knights related. You could do the triangle attack as the special, because that is her special in Warriors as well. Just summons in the other... before you unlock the other 2 Pegasus Knights, she just summons in like copies of herself, I think. But then when you've unlocked the other 2 Pegasus Knights, she summons in something. You can just summon in 2 other Pegasus Knights from the series, or from specifically Mystery of the Emblem, to fill in that space. I'm trying to think actually if there are Pegasus Knights in that game that aren't Pala, Est, and Catria. I'm not actually sure if there are.
Pretty sure there's one more.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Shida, the Pegasus Knight, the most important Pegasus Knight in the series. So I was going to have her on here. Next up, we're continuing the Lances. We have Alfred, the first engaged character I've got on here.
Good choice,
Alfred,
actually.
yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Alfred's like an actual choice from that game. It's just, I wasn't
Alfred,
gonna pick another engaged character. If
I wanted... So Sigurd fights on a horse with a sword. Alfred fights on a horse with a lance. As one of the... There's obviously that's like not uncommon in the series. There's a lot of cavaliers, social knights, paladins, whatever you want to call them. But Alfred is like the first one who's like kind of just one of the lord or prince characters, given that Xander is also a sword horse user. And that's what kind of pushed him over the edge for me, as a horse lord fighter. But okay, next up, continuing the spears, we've got Ephraim. So Ephraim is the foot lance user that I put on the roster. Obviously one of the main characters from Sacred Stones, the more popular of the 2 protagonists from Sacred Stones. Ephraim's also the first lance lord in the series, I think. Yeah, because...
I think that's right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right, because Sigurd uses swords, so...
What does Seliph use?
Seliph also uses swords.
Okay.
And Leaf also uses swords. Everyone uses swords until Ephraim, and then he's a lance. So yeah, he's up here as the grounded lance user. And that's it for lance users for now. We're going to move on to the final part of the weapon triangle next up. We've got Hector. I'm surprised I'm the only person who has Hector on the roster. Honestly,
we needed Dorcas. What can I say? We had
fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, Hector is obviously super popular, big, heavy, armored axe wielder. He's a funny guy. He's just a funny lord. So yeah, I thought having him here be a good choice. But he's not the only... Oh, did I do them out of order? Oh yeah, I've done... Alright, well, Camilla's up here first, I guess. The Wyvern unit also fights with an axe. Again, I know... I guess... I'm surprised I'm the first one to have Camilla, but I'm also not as surprised
You're not.
as I am
I
with
had
Hector.
Camilla. I had Camilla.
Oh, did you had Camilla? Oh, sorry. I forgot. I forgot. Alright, yeah, well, Camilla, there's not a whole lot extra to say on her, so now actual 14th, if you will. Frederick.
Oh my god.
He's...
They're
I also
right next
said
to each
Frederick.
other. They're also right next to each other.
Yeah.
Funny.
More axes. So Frederick is... We got Alfred with the lance on a horse, Sigurd with the sword on a horse, Frederick is the axe on the horse. He's the great knight. He's a fun. He's like, of all of the early, good unit archetypes, the Oifries and the Jagans, Frederick is like the most popular. Frederick's the most popular by far. So I thought him being here would be a good choice. Plus, he's just funny. I think you could have some fun interactions between Frederick and the other members of the cast. So yeah, I've got Frederick up here. Next up, I've got Hilda from Three Houses. So
You like
I wanted...
axes?
Yeah, well, this is the axe section. So I went with Hilda because I wanted to have a fighter type character, but a lot of them aren't that popular. And when I was sort of balancing stuff, I was like, well, what Three Houses characters should I do? And I decided Hilda's she's not the first axe fighter in the series. Technically, the first dedicated one, I think, is the one from Fates. Oh, what's Charlotte? That's her name.
I always forget Charlotte exists.
Yeah, but Hilda's by far more popular, and she's more popular side characters in Three Houses. So I decided to have her here as the axe fighter. All right, next up, the next major weapon type, we've got Takumi on the bows. So I did decide to have archers. I think you can potentially. The way I imagine archers is being quite fast, for obviously ranged focused fighters, doing sort of acrobatic stuff like you mentioned with Claude. I think Takumi can get away with doing stuff like that. I see them more as like volleying, not like one hard arrow shot, but can be able to fire off multiple shots potentially, but that are like quite weak. And are quite weak when you get up close to them, of course. Yeah, but you need to have an archer on here, I felt like, because it's a Fire Emblem staple. And speaking of more archers, we got another one. We put Sue on here.
I actually pitched this one because I like their design.
Yeah, so continuing my horse agenda here, Sue is the bow horse. So now there's one for all four of the major main weapon types, physical weapon types anyway. And Sue isn't the first archer horse. That's technically... Actually, no, there might be someone from Mystery of the Emblem who has an archer horse. I always think of Migda, or whatever his name is, from Genealogy as the first one, but Sue's like the first nomad class, as they call it. Where it's... which is a big part of the Binding Blade and Blazing Blade games. I could have gone with Wrath, but because Sue was the first one, I decided to go with her instead. And it gave another Binding Blade character, so yay. Alright, we got Magic up next, now as we start the new row. We've got Garneth.
Yo, I wanted to do Garneth. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's the original villain. I'm so annoyed now actually looking at it. The new OC has completely ruined my color coordination down on the left side.
I was just going to point that out.
Yeah, I put the new OC in at like very last minute because the idea suddenly came to me, so I moved everyone else upright and it's completely ruined. Lynn was meant to be above Hector, and oh well. Oh well. What'd you say, sorry, Slink?
Where's Rice?
Rice. He's not here. Afraid.
Unfortunate.
We have Garneth. He's like he's not the main. He is the main villain of the first game, but he's also not. Like Medeus is the last villain you fight, but Garneth is the evil sorcerer who is the one who sort of sets everything up on Medeus's half. He appears across the Arcanean saga. He's the main villain of Tokyo Mirage Sessions as well. Like, Garneth is like he's the iconic evil sorcerer of the series, so I wanted to have him here as a villain. But he's not the only magic villain we've got, because up next, we've got Ishtar. So Ishtar is the from Genealogy of the Holy War. She's one of the main villains of that game, and she also appears in Thracia. Her speciality is being a thunder mage. She's all about thunder magic, and I wanted to represent all of the elements in this. So I decided to include Ishtar as it gives not only does it give another villain, but it gives a character who specializes in thunder magic, which I thought would be pretty cool. I really wanted to do Reinhardt instead, but I've given the mage horse rider to someone else, who you'll see shortly. So Ishtar it is. All right, continuing on with the magic users. Up next we have Liliana. So Liliana, as we talked about before, really popular Binding Blade character. She's like the fire mage, is her gimmick. So I had to include her as the default fire mage on this roster. So Liliana it is. There's not really a whole lot else to say that's new. Sed. So Sed hasn't come up yet. Sed is the son of Lewin. He appears in both Genealogy and Thracia. And he's also kind of an important character. In Thracia, he's the leader of the Magi Squad, who are a group of rebels who run around and try and protect people from the child hunts. He's because he was just one of the characters in Genealogy, and then just got a massive importance boost in Thracia. So I put him in here as a Thracia rep. It's specifically that version of him. He's one of the more powerful wind mages in the series. And so I thought, yeah, why not? It'd be a good one. It'd contrast with the other two mages I've got here. So yeah, I went with Sed, Wind Mage. I wonder how many other people know who Sed is. But okay, next up, we've got Lisa up next. So I did want to have a character who heals themselves in combat, like the cleric, and Lisa is the war cleric. She's the first
Lissa.
war cleric.
Lissa.
Yeah, two S's, sorry. Lissa is the first war cleric in the series, which is the more combat-focused clerics. They've had clerics be able to punch things in the past. The Tellius clerics, if you remove their staff, will just punch people instead. But it's definitely not a focus, unlike with Lissa. But you could include that in here, because War Cleric later on in Three Houses goes and then engage with the Martial Monk, go on to be punchy instead of axe wieldy. So you could include a mixture of that. Lissa could have healing magic or staff magic, but then also have an axe and also be able to punch people with light attacks and stuff like that. So Lissa is here. I went
Y'all
for
like
Lissa.
dubstep?
Oh no, what's coming up music-wise?
Oh yeah, it was pointed out to me. Is Lilina named Liliana in Europe? Is that a thing?
Maybe I misspelled it. I don't know actually.
Yeah, there shouldn't be the first A.
Lilin.
Yeah, Lilina.
Yeah, I think I just misspelled it. I'll have to fix that. Whoops. Yeah, I added. I think I just instinctively call her Liliana because it just sounds like a name, more of a name in my head. Whoops. Oh well, yeah, yeah. Erica and Liliana. I'll fix that afterwards, unless someone else already has a Lilina thing they can throw over the top of that.
I have the slot thing open. Let me just make one real quick.
Sure, thanks.
What color is it back? Green. Okay.
Green, yeah. Let's continue on then. Up next, we've got another magic user. The horse magic user for this one.
Horse!
Horse. It's Nana, another character from Thracia. Nana is again, similar to Sed, she's a character of somewhat minor importance in Genealogy, who got a massive boost in importance in Thracia, being the deuteragonist of that game. She takes on the similar role to Shida and Lilina. And she is a Valkyrie, which I think they call it something different in Thracia, but the name becomes Valkyrie. It's a type of unit that can use magic on a horse, but can also use swords with a magic sword. and potentially could use healing. But yeah, I thought Nana would be an interesting character to have on here as a kind of main character who doesn't get as much attention. So yeah, Nana is on here as the Valkyrie. So next up, I went for the beasts. I did the Laguz. We have Ranulf here as the beast character. I really went back and forth on which beast to include, and I at one point also did have Taban on here on my roster, but I decided to just settle on having one beast unit. And when going through them all, Ranulf is like one of the more popular ones, and this is specifically Ranulf from Radiant Dawn, where he's like almost leading the Laguz army. It's technically whatever the Lion King's nephew is, but Ranulf is his like right hand, his advisor. And so Ranulf's also has a strong connection with Ike as well. So I thought they could have good dynamic in this game together. So yeah, he's also popular. So Ranulf is my choice for the Laguz. And next up, we got the most iconic Fire Emblem character coming up next. It's everyone's favorite. It's the Brigand boss. He's here.
I would like to point out for the chat that there is no extra slot in this row folder. This is real.
This is real. This is my Shadows of Valentia character. You should be happy that I've picked one. It's the Brigand. Brigands are iconic parts of the Fire Emblem series. And they needed a villain, and so we have him here. He's the Brigand boss. When they added him to Fire Emblem Heroes, it was like the funniest thing. That the first character to get added in who just doesn't have a name. Yeah, he's in Fire Emblem Heroes. They just added him randomly, and he doesn't even have a name. He's just called Brigand Boss. This is his hero's artwork. This is his hero's artwork.
They couldn't just name him like Kevin or something?
No, he's the Brigand Boss.
They couldn't just give him a fake name?
He's the same here. He's the Brigand. He fights with an axe.
First name.
He fights with an axe, but far less refined than Fighter with Hilda, and he's a you don't want to mess with him, you know. He's a tough guy.
I like this.
Last character in this row, and last character from the base game is Anna. Similar to what Creeks and Huff mentioned, I think you'd have an original design for Anna, but I just used the Heroes one, just for the icon. I'm not going to explain how Anna works, though. I'm going to circle back round to Anna first. Because I want to finish the roster before I do that. So anyway, next row, we're on to the DLC choices now. So this is our base game. Oh. Let's go. Oh, you're gonna Slink replacing the Lilina icon. Thank you.
Is that the right green?
Close enough, I guess.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I got somewhat close.
All right, Byleth is up.
I love that image you use. It's just staring vacantly into our soul.
Yes, this is Byleth is here. Obviously, really popular character. Fights with the sword, has the whip sword.
Hold on, I don't really like this artwork from Byleth. 1 second.
Oh, you gotta use this one. Yes. All right, no, that's better. All right, Byleth is here.
Oh, I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back.
The return of Turtles. Iconic.
I
Source,
requested this.
iconic Source Gaming OC.
Oh god. Oh, it's been so long.
He needs to be here for Fire Emblem. Yeah. So Byleth, popular protagonist. Didn't have him on the base. In fact, Hilda's my only base character from Three Houses. I did have another one, but I moved them to DLC. It wasn't Byleth though. But yeah, I don't have much to say about Byleth, so move on to the next one. Up next we have another Avatar character. We have Robin for this one. And I went with female Robin as the default, which even though I know she's less popular than male Robin, but I went for male Byleth already, so Robin it is. The tactician, so fights with magic and sword, but unlike Nana who fights on a horse, Robin fights on the ground. Sort of has a lot of the majors, so Ishtar is thunder specific, Liliana is fire specific, Zed is wind specific. Robin is a mixture of them all. The similar to how she is in Smash. It's a sort of mix up between sword fighting and being able to use the basic elemental magics. Is how I envisioned Robin. But yeah, there we go. Next up, Jafar. I love assassins.
Jafar.
I love assassins. Jafar is the first assassin in the series. Such a cool unit. I wanted to put Jafar originally on the base roster, but I decided to move him into the DLC because I think I might have had the Black Knight in the DLC originally.
Slink, please look at the chat.
But yeah, Jafar is just cool. And he's a semi-important character in the Blazing Blade. And I think he's a pretty popular character as well. So I've got him here. Next up, we've got similar in disposition, but a different weapon. Slink? Yes, Shamir. So Shamir is the sniper class, and different to Takumi. I think with the sniper, you can get like stronger shots, and they can potentially have a better way of defending themselves. So, Shamir is slower than Takumi is, but is a lot harder hitting. And yeah, there's a lot of I debated between Shamir and Shinon from Teleus because they're both quite popular. But I went for Shamir because I wanted more. I had a big problem where my initial roster when I first put this together was very Teleus heavy. And so I had to cut back on quite a few of them. So I've got Shamir as a Three Houses character instead. But okay, we had Ephraim on the base roster, but Erica is going to be DLC. I'm not going to talk much about Erica for now, actually. She's here. We can move on to the next one. For a character I'm also surprised I'm technically the only person who has her on her own in the roster.
Yeah, I brought up doing her on her own. It's just we had a lot of mages.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I had Thunder, Fire, Wind all as their own mages. So I wanted one for Light as well as Dark. I'm not counting Garneth as the Dark Mage. They're slightly different.
Yeah, Garneth is just an asshole.
So Micaiah is the Light Mage on the thing. She can use all of the traditional light magic that the series has. Potentially that includes some healing. But yeah, Micaiah is here as the leading Magic Lord. Because actually I think Micaiah might be the first Magic Lord as well. Alright, Veronica is the Dark Mage though. Veronica, originally, I was having a look through her moves, because she sometimes uses fire magic. But I'm pretty sure dark magic is what her speciality is considered now in the series. So I figured she'd count for the dark mage position that I had. So yeah, Veronica up here. Next up, we got Ivy. Ivy is the flying mage that I've got on the roster. Ivy's obviously a really popular engage character. And yeah, I don't really... Again, she kind of used probably a mixture of magics, of the anima type magic, rather than any one specific. But obviously is much more aerial focused and a bit more juggling and combo heavy than the other mages. And I had a lack of engage characters on this roster. I did have Alia originally on the roster, but then I cut them very late into it.
You still had one more than most people.
This is true. Okay, and then next up, at the end, we've got Corrin, who is obviously a bit of dragon, a bit of sword. There's not a lot to say about Corrin. That hasn't already been said. So I'll just leave it at that. So
we all did Corrin.
Yes, we all did Corrin. So
despite being in a server that constantly bitches about fucking Corrin, we all chose Corrin.
Can I just say, Nan, I am fascinated with the ordering or complete lack thereof of this roster.
All right,
my
all right.
type.
Now,
True.
listen, I'm gonna have to be honest with you. I'm gonna have to be honest. I've lied. I'm a big stinky liar. Because this isn't really how my roster looks. Go on, Slink, hit that reveal it to the world. You can just click that one. That's my roster, bitch.
You know what? That's actually a funny idea. I actually kind of
Fire Emblem as a series is one that is very class-based, where a lot of characters play very similar to one another. Warriors leaned into this heavily. Was perfectly willing to change a lot of characters' default classes so that they played very similar to each other. So Lyn and Navarre, for example, play exactly the same in Warriors. They're both just the generic Swordmaster, and Awakenings DLC also did this. It turned like Ike into like a mercenary class, and did a few other funky things with when it brought back some of them. So Intelligent Systems is very fluid, as long as the characters have very similar fighting styles to what they should be if they're a lord, then it's a-okay how how they sort of mix it up. And I figured for an original game that we're working on, we could do the same thing here. Because Fire Emblem's popular in the way that it has a lot of units, and a lot of people are always disappointed in how they're represented. So I thought I've always had this in my mind as a way to do a Fire Emblem fighting game for years now. We actually had planned at one point an article of this very concept for a Fire Emblem fighting game on Source Gaming, and this was my initial idea for the roster, and I wanted to make sure I used it here. Okay. So rather than having individual characters, it's the classes, and then you pick between, I just did 3 characters that all fit that class.
The switch up is very bold.
So we can go through this. So Brawler, OC is obviously up front, but Alia is also a brawling type character. As in when they become their Divine Dragon, I've taken their sword away so that they have to punch people. And I've also done Balthus, because I've actually done this quite cleverly with the 3 houses ones. That all 4 house leaders are here, and each of the house leaders also has an accompanying aid with them. So Balthus is here as the brawler. He's also like the default brawler. I know you brought up like Raphael and Casper, but Balthus is the king of grappling, is like his name in series.
Yeah.
He is the punchy man. So Alia and OC and Balthus are all the brawling type. Lords, Marth and Seliph are basically exactly the same until Seliph promotes. Lucina, I've included here. Lucina is an interesting one, and I'll loop back around to it. But Lucina, I've done as part of here for now, just in the same way Smash does it. Great Lord has the bigger sword, has the more chaotic fighting style. This is much more similar to how Chrom fights, and Leaf is another way to differentiate Leaf from Seliph in the way that they fight. And similar, like Roy has the fire stuff, Leaf can have light effects and stuff, and Chrom can have whatever. And it doesn't matter to me. They can do whatever they want for him. Hero, Ike, he uses a sword and an axe. Diamant also uses big sword, big axe. Catherine is an interesting one because despite the fact that her class is technically Swordmaster, her model and the way she fights and the size of her sword is very much like the hero. And 3 Houses doesn't actually have a hero class. They just combined it with the Swordmaster class. So I think Catherine is alright one to choose from here as an option. Including on here. Swordmaster, Lyn, Navarre, we already explained, they fight very similar to one another. Joshua, you brought up Joshua already. He is a cool-ass sword fighter Myrmidon type unit. And I wanted to include this way all of the Sacred Stones lords as well. Night Lord is what it's called when they ride the horse. Sigurd is the default one, but Eliwood also has this. And Xander, as I mentioned before, also a swordie on a horse. Dancer
called Night Lord.
It's actually called Night Lord, yes.
That is so fucking cringeworthy.
Dancer, Olivia is the main one, but and Dancer, there are actually not that many dancers that fit this mold, surprisingly. They like to change it up, like have bards or like Ninian, where she's a dance dragon and stuff. But Olivia, Lene, and Fina are like... Fina's like the original dancer that Olivia's sort of based off of, and then Lena is just a popular dancer. Soth, Matthew, we brought a Matthew, and then Gaius is really popular, so I thought they would all fit the thief archetype quite well. Marshall, we've got Black Knight, we've got Zelgius, original character completely different from the Black Knight character Zelgius, and then Zephyr as well, who also fights with the sword. Obviously, for this to work properly, his sword would just have to be in its sword form rather than its lance. You could have it as an intro because you could do different intros and voices, but the actual combat would have to be the same, so it'd have to turn into his sword for the most part. They all have different class names. Zelgius is like Emperor, and then Black Knights is just Black Knight. But Marshall is the upgraded class for the General. So I decided to call this one the Marshal. Pegasus Knight, I think it's self-explanatory. Tanner, Sacred Stone's important. Henoka, Fate's important. Paladin is the class I did for Alfred, with Bakut as another Shadows of Valentia rep, and Finn, who is a very popular Thracia and genealogy character who also fights on horseback. He's technically like the Seth of Thracia, but genealogy... he's just a sort of regular social knight. Originally, I had... I was going to do like Cain and Abel, but I decided I should probably reference some other series and not have two Mystery of the Emblem characters in this one. Halberdier is the default name of the Lance on Feet class. Dimitri is obvious one associated with this, but Tamara as well is the one from Engage that fits this class. There. General, this is also where Edelgard is. I've gone for Edelgard when she's actually on your side, not the hegemon one that Slink went for. And then I can't remember what her name is now. Off the top, Shania. I've lost my memory for whatever her name is. She's from Mystery of the Emblem. I want to say Sharina, but pretty sure that's the hero's character. I'm sure someone... she's Sheena or something like that.
We're on the internet. Somebody will...
someone will be able to. Yeah. Frederick, Titania, and Gunter, I think, are the three most important Great Knights in the series. Gunter has to see if you do any route in Fates that isn't the Hushido one, the Birthright one, then Gunter becomes way more important. Wyvern Rider was particularly annoying because, like, Camilla... I always picture Wyvern Riders as having axes because of Camilla, Church, and Minerva, but they actually cut the axe from the Wyvern Rider for, like, most of the middle chunk of games. The sprite you're seeing here, I had to, like, edit the Wyvern Rider sprite that exists in order to have one holding an axe because they just don't get axes in the GBA game. Thankfully, a Wyvern Rider with an axe, being Minerva archetype, is something they decided to bring back in Awakening, so there actually is 3 of them. Fighter, this is the real reason I went with Hilda, just to narrow down the fighters a bit more and have them all be female. Echidna is technically a hero, but because she's a hero, she can use an axe, so I've just had it so that she defaults to using axe, which is the same thing that she does in Heroes anyway. And then Charlotte. Archer, I also went for the Claude, but on his... not with the Wyvern.
Yeah, he doesn't need it. He can just dismount anyway.
Yeah, exactly. For this, and I also did for Alchrist. You could bring in the flying things for a super that they all share, because, like, this is the thing with modern Fire Emblem. They've made a lot of characters' classes quite flexible.
Yep.
Like, Takumi can become I think he can become a Pegasus Knight still in Fates,
yeah, I'm pretty
as
sure
a
he
side
can.
class. And I'm pretty sure Alchris can also become a Wyvern or a Pegasus Rider in Engage with the same logic. Maybe not Pegasus Rider. I can't remember if they changed it back to being female only in that game. But yeah, Ranger, Fagado, and also Bernadetta. There's your Black Eagles aid for this one, the Ranger side. Sorcerer, I have Garnif as the default, but Leon and Julius are also both very similar. Also far more popular picks than Garnif.
How dare you? Garnif is an icon. We stand Garnif here.
Thunder Mage, Ishtar, Ilyana, and then Sairene. Sairene was a weird one for this because, like, initially when she joined, she has fire magic, which I thought was a problem. But then when I checked out what her default is when she's like an enemy general in the DLC, they gave her lightning. So I think the only reason she starts with fire is because that's just the weakest magic in the game, and she's your first. She's your second mage because of clan, but your first real mage. Sorry, clan fans. So I think that's why they gave her fire. But she goes up to learn lightning. Speaking of clan, fire mage. I made them all little kids with magic. Nino goes along with the Jafar theme from before, Liliana, and then clan is here because I've also got Fram coming up. Wind mage, I went with Sed, I went with Sorin because he's really popular and also wind focused. And I decided to have Merrick because he's like the original mage of the series, and it also specializes in wind magic. That's his element. War Cleric, I brought it up when talking about Lissa, but they've had War Clerics use axes, they've had War Clerics punch things, and they've had War Clerics use magic, so I just sort of combined them all for this. Obviously, Fram and from Engage is a punchy healer. Annette isn't particularly great with punching, despite that being the War Cleric class in Three Houses. But she does use axes a lot. Like her signature weapon is a massive hammer. And she's the right size to go along with Lissa and Fram. So she fit quite nicely here as the War Cleric. Valkyrie, Mist, is one of the default Valkyries of the series. And it's a default like promotion. And La Rochelle is the same thing. La Rochelle's also a very popular character. Beasts, this is the reason I couldn't do Taban, because the only game that has flying Lagoose is the Tellius games.
Yeah.
And initially I did have it, but it would require having 3 Tellius-only characters, and I wanted to vary them up where I could.
What, you didn't want to do 3 of the, 5 flying ones?
Yeah, exactly. Januf, Naysela, and Taban.
Yeah.
So I just kept it with Beast and had Ranulf, Pan, and then... I want to say Keaton, but that's not his name. Keaton's the other one.
Keaton's a Kitsune, right?
Is Keaton the Kitsune?
I thought he was.
I always get mixed up. No, he's not, is he?
Keaton is the wolf.
He's the wolf, yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck was the Kitsune? Whatever.
Yeah, I do the same thing, yeah. The Kitsune, though, is the one I went for. I think he's more popular, and the wolf skins transform is not quite the same. Like, they become big and bulky. It's weird. Brigand, I went for the only 2 playable Brigands in the whole series to join the Brigand boss. Gonzalez, and then Marty. And this will be Marty's first ever appearance since Thracia, because who the fuck cares about Marty? He is like the board and cord of his game. But he's like one of the only... he's one of the only playable Brigands in the series. So I thought it was a really funny choice.
Kaden was the Kitsune. In Japanese,
someone cares
they're known
about
as
Marty.
Nishiki. 10 years in the joint.
Okay, now Anna. So the reason I held off on Anna is because of the way I've done this with the characters and sharing classes and stuff like that. I decided to make Anna the Freelancer class. Freelancer is a class that only appeared in the Arcanean games, and it allows its user to become any class as long as they're standing next to them. So the way I imagined Anna was being like Mokujin from Tekken, where you select her and every round she just becomes a different other character. Like, she becomes a different class, and which Anna you use depends on which class it is. So if you get Fire Mage Anna, it'll be the one from Engage, where she's smaller and a child. If you get, like, the general version of Anna, it's the one from Heroes, because that's the only one where she's got full-on armor. The Archer one, they can obviously go for the one from Warriors.
Yeah, they can also just design new ones.
Yeah, they can also design new ones where needed to fit in. But that's the idea. Anna is Mokujin, and will play any role that you need her to be. Complete random. Mercenary class. This is where Alm is. It's partly is because of Hero's fault, but because Alm is like a villager initially, and is I always see him as like a slightly more rougher fighter than I do with the Lords. And so I think he fits the mercenary type quite well. And then I also did Chris.
He's a mercenary in Awakening.
Yes, I think that's it as well. He's a mercenary in Awakening. So that also applies. That also affects why I view him this way. And then I also threw Chris in here because Chris was the only main series protagonist I didn't have. And also fights in a very similar way in order to make sure he was different from Marth. So, hooray to all the 2 Chris fans. Tactician. Tactician was because it's sword and magic based. I had to use Celica in this as well, and I kind of struggled for ages to figure out another tactician until I remembered that Awakening made Katarina a tactician. Like, originally she's just a mage in the
Why didn't you
Mystery
have
of the
Mark?
Emblem. But I could have done Mark, and I thought about it because they've only made child Mark playable in Heroes. They've not made default Mark playable in Fire Emblem yet.
No, it's just the GBA overworld sprite.
But Katarina is like the only other canonical tactician class, other than Morgan, I guess. And I could have done Morgan, but that would be having another Awakening character on there. And Katarina is kind of a deuteragonist of New Mystery of the Emblem. Like, she's what Sheeta is to Marth, what Sheeta is to Marth, she is to Chris. So I included here. Assassin, Yunaka, great character. Yuri, Assassin. Assassin is his other default class along with Trickster. So they both fit. Sniper, I mentioned Shinon already, but I also included Inns, because another Sega Stones. Bride class. Bride was one of the first ones I wanted to have in this when I decided this roster, because it's such a bizarre class.
It is
to have. I had a big debate over who should be the default bride, because Heroes has its own set of brides, and they always use, like, the bride class distinctly uses lances, staffs, and bows. That's like their 3 main weapons. And in Heroes, there's a whole bunch of them, and that's why I picked Cordelia, that's why I picked Fjorm, because they're both characters who can use lances, which I envision as the default for the bride, but they've also shown to be able to use staffs and bows, and I think they both, as personality-wise and height-wise and stuff like that, they fit for Erica. But who was the default bride? I kept having a big back and forth between Erica and Lucina, because Lucina is shown quite often as a bride. In Project Cross Zone, for some bizarre-ass reason, she class changes mid-fight into the bride class and fights using lances and bows in that game. And she has Cypher Art as well, where she's a bride. Like, Lucina fits the bride, and Erica actually fits Lord really well. Like, she is basically just fights the same way that Marth does. But the bride class was also introduced with Erica in Awakening. So Erica is the default bride unit in the mainline games. And after some back and forth, I went for Erica being the default bride unit here. So yeah, wanted to explain that. Light Mage, we have Julia, who's already been mentioned, but also Linoan, who's also from Thracia and is quite a popular Light Mage character. Dark Mage, I went for Veronica, Tharja, and Sonia. This is why I went for this version of Veronica as well, rather than her updated version with the big dress. And technically, she rides a horse as well in that version of her, whereas this one is on foot. So I thought it would match up better. Darkflyer was an interesting one because obviously Ivy has a wyvern by default, and Hortensia and Aversa both fly Pegasus Knights. But I sort of justified it by saying that Hortensia and Ivy have the same class in Engage. It's just that the game decides that Ivy should have a wyvern instead of a Pegasus, even though it's the exact same class. So I thought, well, if they don't mind in that game, it's probably fine in this one to have them be the same. It depends on how much the mount actually matters in the moveset. And I felt really weird not having... Ivy's in one of those unique cases where a magic wyvern is super unique. So unless you gave her an axe and had Camilla lean into the magic element of her abilities, there isn't really anyone else to match her up with. And then Dragon for the end, I called it Dragon, but it's more like the Divine Dragon class from Engage, where they fight with a sword primarily, and then turn into a dragon for supers. I had Seros and Corrin because I think they can be quite similar in size and the way they fight. Lumera I included as the last one, even though it's the one I use for the basis of the sprites. But I think she fits. I think there's a way for her to fit in this. And yeah, I just ran through all 90-something characters. Ugh.
Yeah, good bit. I actually like that idea.
I was curious because I was told about the funny folder and not to open it, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes, that's why I've got all the house leaders there. All the house leaders also have aides. I've got every lord in the series is there as well. I think I have all the main deuteragonists as well. They all manage to match up. I guess I don't have Alphonse from Heroes, and I don't have any Tokyo Mirage Sessions or Cypher characters.
How could you forget about
actually.
the most iconic class, Golem?
Damn. If I
It's
had
not
one
even
more
a usable
slot.
class.
Shut up! Don't worry about it.
I did at one point debate having Risen or something.
Okay, so is it safe to say that this game is called Fire Emblem Class Warfare?
Yes.
Ah.
But yeah, this is an idea I've had on my mind for ages. So I wanted to. I had to make sure I did it here. Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. I really enjoyed this stream, and I hope everyone did too. I'd just like to remind everyone going forward that I have to be the one here who's hosting the stream. So topics that I'm not interested in one bit and can't contribute to are being taken off the docket, at least for now. Eventually down the line, if I decide I want to do research like Huff does for all of these, I might. But for now, stuff like multiverses, that is not on the table. We'll be putting up our next poll next week. And the poll for which roster you liked the most will be going up shortly after this stream. It will not take 2 days this time. Sorry about that. All right. As always, thank you so much to all of our lovely patrons. If you want to help support us, YouTube ad revenue has been particularly bad recently. It's been very low, and we've gotten a lot of false copyright claims. So Patreon or donating directly to us through Super Chat is the best way for you to support the show and keep us going much more than we have been. I'm really pleased with how much we've been streaming, actually. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and always remember to return to the source.
Bye.